but good morning. Can we start with the roll call? To the left of me.
Frank Fracassa, Cincinnati representative.
Annette Lux, Toledo rep.
Chad Sliker, Columbus.
Melissa Straight, Cleveland alternate.
Mark Lynn, Columbus rep.
John, yeah, he drove it on.
Wayne Burke Holder, Toledo alternate.
Chief Trammell, Dayton representative.
Orville Stark, Columbus consultant.
Amy Seger, reporting manager.
Sally Nunes, area manager.
Christy Help, program manager.
And we're back to me, Larry Danflos. Oh, Larry Danflos. That's a stage name. I'm losing my mind here. Hey,
So we've got people online too.
oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, so-
Can we reach out to the?
This is Rachel Houston from the AG's office. So, do you have a quorum in person?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So, if the people online, if they're board members, they can't participate in the discussion. They can listen, but they can't speak or vote or any of that. So you have to have a quorum in person, just so everyone is on the same page.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, crap.
Oh.
Sally.
Okay, there
Just
we are.
kidding.
Are you trying to do
I was trying
the
to turn the volume.
up?
It's down there. You want me to?
Well, there's 3 buttons and I pushed the one,
It's
the wrong one. Here.
They're too close together.
Okay, I think we're doing good. Yep, we have a quorum here, but do we want to state who is online?
Also, we can't record off of there, and if I do it on my computer, I have to turn my mic on, and there might be an echo. So
I've got the phone here recording.
I can get the transcription,
Okay.
but I just can't record without
Yep.
causing issues.
So it may or may not work online to give it to Tom to put it on YouTube. We'll do our best. So do we want, Amy, can you reach out like the last 4 digits of numbers? Because we do have quite a few people online.
Oh, I can ask them to shout it out. Or
So most of them have their names. So whatever you want to do.
everybody on the phone. Is there anybody from Akron online?
Kelsey Burrier, business consultant.
Morning.
Good morning.
How about Toledo? Anybody from Toledo? Cleveland? Zane? Oh, Chris. Morning, Chris.
Anne Marie Mosley, business consultant for Cleveland.
Hey, welcome.
Hello. How about Zanesville?
John Kennedy.
Morning, John.
And I,
That's Ryan, the Zanesville alternate.
Sarah was the last one.
Seth Ryan, Sarah, and I believe Lisa Litzinger's on there as well.
Who we got?
Lisa Litzinger, Zanesville.
Okay. How about Dayton? Cincinnati?
Mott here.
And Columbus. Oh, I'm skipping people.
Tanya Koo from Cincinnati is here.
All right, good
Julie
morning.
Russell.
All right, thanks you guys. Good morning, everybody.
Lindsay McKinney's here too, sorry.
That's everybody. I guess we're up for a public comment. I didn't have anybody reach out.
Can you?
I didn't hear that.
Mr. Chair,
Yes. Is that Seth?
is that to me? Yes, it is. I'd like to question the Attorney General stating that members of the board cannot participate in discussion over the phone. I believe that to be 100% correct. I know we cannot vote over the phone, it has to be in person, but to participate in the discussion, I thought that's why we had the call in, so that people could participate in the discussion.
I can do the research really quick.
Please.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Annette.
just a couple of things. One, I'm gonna ask everybody to keep our secretary, Christopher Sabine, in their thoughts and prayers. He's been very public, letting folks know that he had major surgery this week. He's recovering from heart surgery, so if everyone can just keep him in prayer, that would be great. And also, I wanted to point out, and I don't know if this has been distributed to everybody, but the National Association of Blind Merchants is hosting a Blast Innovation Conference in Orlando, Florida next month. It is February 26th, 27th, and 28th. It is all about innovation and trying to update, change, do different things in Randolph-Shepherd programs. Normally, I love going to these things. I would be the first one to jump and go, but I'm not able to this year. So I'm hoping that we can have somebody from Ohio go to that and be able to report back. So I just wanted to throw that out there and let people know that it's available, and if they want any more information, I can give it to them.
Mr. Chairman,
John?
business permitting, I'm going to try and go.
Okay, that'd be awesome.
Because it's something that I'm really interested in.
It's very interesting.
It's primarily a technology focus.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair,
Hello, this is Mott speaking from Cincinnati. I have a question. First of all, when is the conference again?
It is February 26th, 27th, and 28th. It starts the evening of the 26th, it'll end by noon on the 28th. So people could fly in Monday and fly home Wednesday.
Mr. Chair, I will get
Okay.
out information to all operators about that conference on Monday.
Thank you.
Okay, I have, this is pretty important. It has to do with Seth's query to the AG. Frank has asked me to take a note. I'm gonna do the best I can. A lot of things, the sound is pretty good, but not great. Nevertheless, I'm online now. If the AG is correct, I'm not gonna be able to, of course I can take notes, but if she is exactly right, I am not gonna be able to continue to ask questions or clarification about the proceedings. Now, Seth is either right or wrong. If I can ask questions and participate online,
Madam
I
Secretary.
suppose everybody else can too. But if no one else can, that means I can't either.
Mr. Chair,
Frank?
Mott, I think you're all right. You're serving as the secretary. You're taking minutes. If you have a question or need clarification, I don't think there's going to be a problem with asking that question.
Yeah, it's not really participating.
It's
Would
not-
agree with that. This is AG.
Did you say you agreed with that?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he's just taking notes.
Yeah, yep.
That's okay.
Yeah.
And I'm just verifying that there's no distinction between like regular meeting and executive session. Because I know you can't participate in executive session remotely.
That's true, yeah.
I agree with that. This is an
Mr. Chair.
executive session.
Amy?
It's a regular
I'm
meeting.
also recording, it's like a transcription that Teams does. So Mott, I can also send you that after the meeting.
Okay.
And Mr. Chair, and a follow-up to what Annette said about Chris Saban. You know, he did have major surgery on Tuesday. The text I received was that went well. He was still in ICU, but yesterday, I guess on Ohio Talk, it was posted by our chapter president that he has to have another surgery this morning or today to install pacemakers. So just continue to keep him in your thoughts and prayers, everybody. Thank you.
Are we gonna continue on or wait for Rachel to get back? I guess we'll continue on. The first agenda item is NABM subscription.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, it's Christie. We pay for a membership for NABM, and Terry and Nikki, and generally they come to the conference. Again, they've been a great resource. It's $3,500. We do budget, but we're bringing that to the committee to vote on continuing that membership. And I don't know, Annette, if you want to add.
No, it just that it is a subscription. We've done it for a long time. It is very valuable. And it helps pay for Terry Smith's involvement, because Terry is not a volunteer, he's a paid employee of NABM. And there is no dollar amount we could put on the value that he gives. So we asked for subscription from states to help offset that cost. And for that, we get them to come to statewide and advocacy, advice, input, answering questions. So it's very, very critical and important. So that being said, I'd like to move that we continue with the subscription this year.
I'll second.
All right, any discussion on that, or just go to vote? All right, now that I know everybody's who's here, but I don't remember the order. Annette?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
Missy?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
And Keith?
Yes.
Did I get everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah. And I'm yes. We're doing all right. Great. Seniority.
Mr. Chair,
Amy.
I had sent out with the budget reports for people who submitted seniority list changes. From the last meeting, we had opened that up until January 6th based on the committee's recommendation for anyone to submit what they would like changed about their record. So we had 4 people, and we were just coming to the committee for you guys to approve the changes. They were it's opening. So it was Mel Arnold, and he had changes. The dates are April 1985 to August 1985, and then August 1985 to current. In those 2 facilities, the documentation he provided was an email from Doug Mills and an email from Jeff Toll. Since he didn't give him the exact date, would you guys need to approve doing April 1st to August 31st, and then August 31st to current for his other facilities? John McNamara said he was working 2 weeks before he received his license at Cleveland City newspaper. He had an email from Frank. Jeannie Snyder had time from March of 1982 to September 15th, 1993 at 161. She has an affidavit. And then Kurt Lemaster wanted to add February 9th to June 7th of 1996 at Goodwill. And his documentation was, he said he should have the same time as Terry Ward. So, I guess we just would need you guys to say like yay or nay on those, and then we will get them added to the list.
No.
So this is Mott. That was Mel, John McNamara. Who were the other 2?
Jeannie Snyder.
Jeannie Snyder,
And Kurt Lemaster.
Kurt Lemaster.
Oh, did you say Kurt?
Yeah, Kurt Lemaster.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, man, that's a big can of worms. Where do we go from here?
Mr. Chair, well, three of them, what was, McNamara's proof?
An email from Frank.
Oh, okay, so they had folks that remembered, that he started, and I'll be honest with you, with McNamara, I think I remember that even too, it was before, but I remember hearing about it.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, he was pulled out during our training, he was pulled out of training for 2 weeks, had to sign a BOA, and like I said in my email, I had first-hand knowledge being a roommate because,
Yeah.
he tells you about running that facility and everything. I didn't hear about it, I never, well, I mean, that was my first time in training, but I hadn't heard about that happening to anybody before.
Yeah, it happened in our class too. So,
The last one there with,
I was gonna
I
say-
should have the same seniority as so-and-so, that,
that one, Mr. Chair, that one's the one that, the other ones at least have witness testimony or something, and
I've heard stories of Kurt working at Goodwill, but I don't know the time frame. And I think Doug was even there training with him at one point.
he did work at Goodwill, I know that too, but I don't know if he got credit for any of his Goodwill, if he's just changing the
check.
dates. If-
Mr. Chair, question with that. I got documentation, I didn't send it in, but I have documentation from BSBI, when I started. And I still don't see the relevance of seniority because it makes what difference?
When it comes to bidding,
Okay, cause I'm not gonna fight that. I'll take whatever you say and I'll work with that. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
yes.
so it looks like he received credit for Goodwill from June 1996 until June of 1997. He is wanting to add February 1996 until
Okay.
that June of 1997.
So
And there-
18 months is what we're talking about?
No, it's like
No,
6
about
months.
5 months.
Yeah.
Oh.
But he just wants to say, I was there.
Yes, that's what he said.
Well, I believe we asked for some sort of documentation, not a verbal, that's what I did. But the other three sounded like they're good to go, but.
Mr. Chair, I totally agree. I don't think just saying it is without any, I mean, the other ones have, statements from other operators who were around at the time, or, which is, eyewitness testimony, that's good enough report, affidavit, all that stuff. Just somebody saying, because somebody else wasn't there, I should have longer than him, doesn't seem like some kind of proof to me, so.
Do we need a motion or just a? We probably need
Mr. Chair, I move that we accept the documentation for Jeannie Schneider, John McNamara, and,
Mel
Mel Arnold to, adjust their seniority.
Second.
Who's talking?
That was Annette, and then Frank second.
Okay. All right.
All right, I think we can probably go into the vote. Annette,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
Missy,
Yes.
is it Melissa?
Missy's fine.
And, Mark?
Yes.
Dwayne.
Track Keith.
Dwayne?
No.
No,
Oh, Dwayne.
no, sorry, I screwed up.
Christie.
Nope, I screwed up.
I
Write that
appreciate
down.
you saying you
No.
screwed up. I like that more than, anyway. Dwayne, never
Did
mind.
someone vote no? Did someone vote no?
Not yet.
I did.
I'm sorry, Dwayne.
Dwayne should not get the
I know, I
vote.
keep,
Dwayne should not get the vote because,
It's,
and that's
He
it.
voted no.
It's Keith.
Keith Trammell.
but what's your vote, Keith?
No.
Oh, it's, okay, we gotta know, Darren. And me, I'm yes. All right, I forgot what's next. Is it displaced operator stipend?
Yes.
Displaced operator stipend. I remember, well, I don't know what really is going on about this, but I know there was a rule established a while back. And I guess, they're having an issue with something or someone.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Sally.
we did have an operator submit paperwork for their displaced operator stipend. By their calculation, it was 47%, to which we thought we can't honor this. However, after recalculating without an error, he was at 50%. So that's no longer an issue. I guess the only thing we want to clarify now is in the rules, it says, hold on, let me pull it up. And it's only in the definition here, I think, but it says, displaced operator means an operator whose permanent facility has been permanently closed, temporarily closed, or whose net facility sales have been temporarily reduced by at least 50% for more than 2 weeks, blah, 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 blah. So I guess we're just wanting to clarify where it says or whose net facility sales. So without a closure, if their sales are down, are they qualified to claim the stipend?
Yeah, I think, well, it sounded like if you took a 50% hit,
Yeah.
you were getting stipend. I know COVID was like, not in effect then, but,
Right.
that's what it sounded like to me at the time, and I don't think I was there when the rule was put together.
Mr. Chair, that's exactly, if someone takes a hit, and then COVID is a good example. Now, obviously, we did not have the funds to be able to pay everybody who qualified for the stipend because it is based on funds availability. But yes, if your facility takes more than a 50% hit for either temporarily or I guess it would be up to the 6-month thing or something,
I remember the 6 months.
then you are eligible.
So, Mr.
Mr.
Chair, I'm confused here. So there's two different things that I'm trying to figure out. If someone has a facility that is not closed, not temporarily closed, but their sales have taken a hit even for a number of reasons, do they qualify for the stipend? That's my first question.
Well, I believe it was like that until COVID came. Now, COVID, I mean, there's buildings now that are less than 50%, but I thought COVID was like, I don't think, we can't afford to supplement.
And then the other question I have is we've got operators that have temporarily closed rest areas, right? And we've got operators where that was their whole business, their whole facility. Obviously, they absolutely should receive the stipend. But then we have operators that it's a part of their facility and they're not down by 50%, but they have a closure, and that or makes it a little like, do they automatically get it because they do have a temporarily
No,
closed
I think it was
site?
based on the 50%. I think that was the,
Mr. Chair, I would say that's correct. If it's only a fraction of their facility
Okay.
that's closed, then, and that's why we put the 50% thing in there, so that if somebody has a closure of I'll use my facility, if this building closed, that would not qualify for 50%
Right.
for my business. So there's no way I should be able to get the stipend.
Okay.
and I think it was really basically on closures and temporary closures. Not even, if the people just up and picked up and left out of the Lazarus or the roads. I I don't remember,
Mr. Chair.
well, these state buildings, I know they shuffle people around a lot. And, what, didn't we just lose the Schottenstein buildings out there on Fifth?
Yeah.
Anyway. I don't know. Where was we at? You guys are just trying to make sense of it all?
So our question was the or. That was the thing, the or. You know, I think, and we just wanted to be all on the same page.
Yeah, well, bringing this up, I'm afraid everybody that has a state or federal building where the people are working from home, and they say, well, hey, I'm at 50% from 3 years ago, so.
No, it wouldn't be from 3 years ago, though, we would compare it to the year before.
All right. Still.
Okay. I think we
We're
got
good?
our answer.
Oh, was it the best one of all, OBM? OBM's coming up next.
So Mr. Chair, conclusion is that you have to be closed, right, or temporarily closed.
And meet the 50%.
Okay. Mr. Chair.
Oh, yes, Tom. All right.
All set.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Tom.
It's Seth.
Oh, Seth, I'm sorry.
Seth? Okay, no problem. Can we get a clarification from the AG, please?
Yeah, see what she got.
I really don't want to have to drive up there in the next hour and a half. It's a lot of snow out here.
Yeah, there is.
And for the record, Yvette Shackelford just arrived.
Oh, okay.
And Lynn Hustwick is also online.
Should we skip past this one? I don't know what the rest of the agenda looks like, but it sounds like Seth's interested in this one.
Rachel's on the phone, or Rachel.
I don't know if she has anything.
So, are you looking for the answer now?
Sure.
Okay, so you can, if a board member is not there in person, public business has to be discussed in an open meeting. Yes, it's open, but you still have to be there to participate in discussions on things that require a motion. So if there's like public comment or you have questions about something that's just informational, that's fine. But all the stuff that you guys are talking about that require a motion, that can't be participated in because you're not present to discuss the public business.
Mr. Chair.
John.
That really doesn't
I
make sense.
asked that the meeting be adjourned because this is completely opposite of everything we've done up to this point since I've been on here. There's never been a time that a member could not discuss over the phone because of inclement weather or when we weren't having meetings in person. If this is going to be something new that the AG has all of a sudden found, then fine.
You can discuss if you're in person and you're meeting in person.
Because I'm not in person.
Yeah. So, but you can't participate in public business and because you are not allowed as a board to have a meeting remotely. And so when you're participating in discussions, you are remote.
Yes,
Wait, was there some
Board's not having a remote meeting.
was there some changes
The
during
board
COVID?
was present.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
members who are
And now that
present
COVID's
there
over-
Can discuss public
Yeah.
business.
Mr. Chair, to clarify, and Ms. Houston could verify this, during COVID, the legislature actually passed legislation allowing folks to meet virtually, but that has expired. So that's why we were able to do it then,
I'm not asking to vote.
but we can't do it now, but. yeah,
I'm not
we-
asking to vote.
That, it doesn't sound good. So I apologize, Seth.
This has never been done before. This is brand new at this meeting. Everybody agrees with that. last meeting, anybody on the phone could participate in discussions, correct?
I don't,
I think
I
the
was
chair
at
shut
the
him
last
down.
meeting, and I don't recall being board members on the phone calling.
Well, that's because the last meeting, the chair decided to not allow people on the phone to speak the meeting up. So there, at the beginning of the meeting, there were people.
I don't
speaking on
recall
the phone.
board members being on the phone though. Or
I'm sorry?
OVRC. I don't recall the OVRC members speaking out so much, but.
Right.
Hey, this is Mont. You know, the AG, I'm sorry, what's your name, AG
Rachel
person?
Houston,
I'm sorry, say your first name?
Rachel,
Rachel. If I understand, Rachel, you are saying that board members, meaning committee members, cannot participate in matters that are under discussion that could be voted on. I understand that. But a lot of the people who are on this call are not committee members. And at the discretion of the chair, non-committee members have in the past been allowed to make comments or questions at the discretion of the chair. They are
the
not
public
committee
comment.
members.
Right, because so the people who are online can only participate like a public member can participate. So if it requires a vote, you can't, because a public member couldn't participate and vote on something for that discussion. Yes, you can ask questions as a public member would, but you're not going to be able to influence the rest of the board members as a member of the board, the committee.
What if you're not on the committee?
At the discretion of the chair, if there's public comments, I think there was a public comment period, you can make a public comment as normally would happen. And if there's a limit to the public comments, then that limit would also apply to the committee member. A limit, time limit. You're participating as a member of the public.
I agree with that, but your statement at the beginning was that members could not participate in discussions, which we allow public
Discussion
to
for-
participate in discussions.
A discussion for something that requires a vote. So if you're participating
After a
and
vote.
making, no, just participating in
Clarify, so after a
discussion.
vote.
Excuse me, Rachel,
No, yes.
you're saying that nobody from the phone can be involved in any discussion of a matter that needs to be voted on?
Yes.
Thank you.
How is that?
Non-committee.
And where's
At
that
both.
involved?
Everybody on the phone.
Mr. Chair, they can make.
In the sunshine law book.
Yeah, but not during a discussion about a vote.
Right, no, right.
In the sunshine law book, it says, with narrow exemptions, the Open Meetings Act requires the members of a public body to discuss and deliberate on official business only in open meetings. Yes, this is open meetings, but in order, what?
Yes, this is an open meeting. It's the vote.
But in order for you to vote and
I can't
meet,
vote. I understand that. Go ahead. Sorry.
so deliberation, which is, and discussion is the exchange of words, comments, or ideas by members of the public body. If you are not in person, you're participating as a public member because you can't have an open meeting unless you're there. Like you can't be in the open meeting unless you're present. So you can't be counted as a quorum. So how can you discuss something that requires a vote?
Mr. Chair,
Well, you're discussing it right now.
we're not gonna get into this.
I'm not voting. You don't have to vote on this.
Hold on. You guys, Rachel, Seth, I believe we're gonna have to take it from what we were told, Seth. I apologize, but it doesn't look like you're gonna be able to participate.
I want to ask one, I do want to ask I want to ask Rachel a question. Just to follow up on what Larry, the chair, just asked you, but I want to ask it in a different way. So we can't allow any of the constituents on the phone to chime in during a discussion and provide their feedback, the people that we represent. They're not allowed to do that over the phone.
Is it a public comment period that you're asking them to participate in, or are you asking them to influence your vote on something that is under that you're required to vote on? So there's
That's
a
your motion.
distinction.
Wait, well, that's a good question. Can discussion be had prior to a motion?
I mean, what are you talking about, right? So if the business of the board has a motion that they want to discuss, the board's discussing that. If they wanted to take public comment on what is part of the agenda, or you take public comment before each thing, but they can't participate in that discussion for the vote. You can't influence each other from online versus in person.
You guys know what I'm saying, there's a talk before the motion, then a discussion afterwards.
That's what I mean.
She's saying yeah, basically.
That's exactly what I'm trying to get at. So before a motion is made or a vote will be made, we have, since I've been on the board, we have allowed public comment from any member of the public, let alone board members, that are not in person, because there's always been a phone meeting aspect in every meeting I went to. I understand I cannot vote because I'm not in person, but the idea that I cannot speak because I'm not in person is absolutely against everything we've done so far, and I don't understand where this
Do
is
you
coming from.
accept public comment on everything that you're talking about?
Yes, I think we have.
Yes.
Yes.
Do you have a limit to that public comment?
When it starts to take up more time than we have in a day.
Like this.
I think there's discretion.
I believe our bylaw says 5 minutes.
So that means that whoever is online, and if it's public comment, you only have 5 minutes.
Well, that's true, because sometimes we only limit speaking from the members, not from all the people, because it can get hectic.
Usually it's at the chair's discretion.
Yeah, we've been doing all right. I mean, we understand that Seth will not be able to comment after the motion's been made.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, guys. We're good, I think.
Move on, Larry.
Ohio, was it budget management? Where are we at with that?
Mr. Chair. So the OVM work group met yesterday, and they did have a recommendation to bring to the committee, and this is over 2 things. So first, they're gonna, the recommendation, and I'm only speaking because I took the notes, but if Annette,
Go ahead.
Okay. So the first thing is the baseline. So this is an operator submitting like a full MOR's worth of documentation. So this has to happen in some frequency or period that the committee will decide. So the work group recommends that it's 2 operators a month over a 3-year cycle. So that would be an operator would be asked once every 3 years to send documentation for a full MOR. The recommendation is to send a list out for the following federal fiscal year in July, and then there would also be a reminder a month prior for that operator. The consultant would work with the operator to collect their documentation, whether meeting with them in person, them submitting it online, via phone, as in pictures. They would have that whole month to meet and provide the documentation. So if you submit your May MOR by June 24th, you would have until July 24th to collect that documentation. So like the next MOR's due date. We would like to start with the May MOR. So this is like 5 months before like where the emails would start and everything. So we would kind of like pilot it to see if there's any hangups, what's going on. But the work group had decided like for those 5 months, it would be 10 operators. Maybe some operators would volunteer to be kind of the first ones. And then you would be done for 3 years until it would start again. So that's the first recommendation. I don't know if we want to stop
I would
before we
stop
get into
there.
other.
I would stop there, so.
Okay.
if we have anyone have any questions?
That was to verify a base, like a number, establish a.
Mr. Chair, it
monthly
was, one of the things that OBM wanted was to establish baselines for each operator. And, this was basically how we would go about doing that. They wanted one MOR to be, scrutinized, you know, where everything, you know, how'd you get your numbers for that particular month? Operators would know ahead of time, well before they even filed the MOR, so they'd be prepared for it, you know, to hold back stuff and hold it aside, their receipts and everything. And like I said, in other words, a notice would go out in July, which operators would be done called on for that next federal fiscal year. So the earliest you would get a notice, you get July for your October report, which so actually you got from July to November to know it. And there, like I said, she said, we would start in May, 2 a month, so that would be 10 for a pilot program.
I got a question. Will that baseline month establish your numbers for every month of the year?
No.
Okay.
All they want to do is see how operators are
Okay.
collecting their information and how we figure, like we pointed out in the meeting yesterday, you know, we have 80-some operators. We all do it 80 different ways. So they just want to know how we're coming up with our numbers.
Got it.
How do you figure out what your cost of goods is? How do you figure out what your expenses are and what your sales are and all of that?
So, Mr. Chair, my question to that is, what if they don't like or, you know, the consultant or the area manager, maybe it's being done correctly and everything is legit, but what if somebody, and I'm saying on the state side, just doesn't like the way the operator's doing it? Is the operator gonna be thrown out or put on a PIP or?
I'll probably come right back here.
Mr. Chair, there are rules. I would, and we talked a little about this, what happens, if they don't like the way they do it, I would find that very questionable, because we all do it different ways, and frankly, I don't care if the state likes how I do it or not. But whether it's accurate, whether someone's, they're just looking to see how you're coming up with the numbers. And, you know, I don't think it's a judgment thing where they get to decide whether we're doing it right or wrong. You know, some of us count coin mech, some of us don't. Some of us use our credit card reports to determine our sales, some of us don't. You know, they just wanna know how we're doing it. And, you know, like I said on the call yesterday, if the state has said this is not in any way punitive, and if we find that it is, then that's when we need to rally and say, hey, that's not what this was about. That being said, if someone is shown to be breaking rules, there are no rules about establishing sales, there are no rules about how you know, come up with your cost of goods, or if you count your coin mech money as part of your closing cash, and none of those are rules. So anyone that does something different from that, they're not breaking any rule, and there would be no means for any PIPs or any forms of consequences for that. The consequences would be as if someone showed a MOR and said, well, I don't have any receipt, I don't know how I came up with this, this is, you know, then we'd have to have a discussion about what happened there, were rules broken, and we have plans if rules are actually broken. And operators have the protection of their, local selection panel and all of that. It's like being accused of breaking any other rule.
Mr. Chair, I'm just gonna say, I'm concerned in the hands of the wrong people, this could go really bad 9 ways to Sunday or 7 ways to Sunday, whatever you wanna say.
We used to do
I
this
know we have to
sometimes.
do something, I'm not saying we shouldn't do anything, I'll just say it, in some ways, I almost would rather go back to what we were doing pre-COVID, doing the one receipt thing per month, and things like that, and go down this road.
Mr. Chair, no, Frank.
Well, this sounds more intrusive than that, to be honest. This sounds like this is going to be a lot of work being put on operators to get all of this together and put everything together and to get this done. And yeah, that concerns me. Most of us are out trying to load machines, run our business, and do the best we can. I just don't want it to be some Herculean project that, it's just.
It wasn't that long ago we did this once a year. It wasn't that long ago.
Mr. Chair,
John?
I don't know if it's really that big a deal because we need that information to create our own MRI. So, I don't know, it's not that monumental, we have that information to create our MRI, and if we don't have that information to create our MRI, we're not gonna trouble spot those anyways.
Mr.
You bet.
Chair, we also, as John said, this is giving you plenty enough time to set this stuff aside. Months in advance, you're aware of it. I think that we could be accommodating. I don't think that that's asking too much of us as operators, professionals. You have your receipts, you gotta keep it for 7 years anyway. I don't think that big of a deal. There's no punitive you're not being penalized for it. You just ask one, and it's just asking for one MRI, they ask for months. So,
Mr. Chair,
Who's that?
Dave.
Oh, Dave.
I was on that work group, and on that meeting yesterday, and it's the hint that it's not supposed to be punitive. Christie's response to that was, well, there has to be consequences, otherwise there's no point in doing it. And since when did we start letting the Bureau make the recommendations of the work group? That is highly inappropriate, I think.
Mr. Chair, Amy questioned whether she could read the notes. She wasn't putting a motion out there, she was reading the notes.
She said that was the recommendation.
Yes, and I don't have a problem with that, because she was reading the notes that I do not have in an accessible format in front of me. Do you have them? Would you like to read them out?
I don't have the notes.
Okay, Amy had them. We talked about that yesterday on the call, that Amy would take the notes and be able to report those to the group.
She said, Mr. Chair, her words were, this is the recommendation of the work group.
Yeah,
Mr. Chair.
That would sound like a generalization to me.
If I can step back from these work groups also, these are your guys' work
Yeah,
groups.
these are
I
active
was trying to
participation
help
work
and take
groups, yeah.
notes.
I think
And
he's
we
caught up on the
appreciate you.
recommendation part.
So,
Mr. Chair,
You bet.
if you all think about it, consequences, if someone is doing it wrong, wouldn't we want them to be corrected? And they may not be doing it wrong, but doing whatever they're doing on purpose, maybe lack of knowledge, maybe lack
Yeah.
of training.
Yeah.
Wouldn't we want to catch it before there's any issues?
Mhm.
I mean, I think, just like you said, Annette, or you alluded to, if someone is doing something totally illegal, making up sales, whatever, wouldn't we want to make sure, because you want accurate numbers for the facilities, or what sales are? Mr. Chair, Christie said that, what Dave said is true. Christie said, well, there has to be consequences. And I point out, just like for any breaking of any rule, if we find that somebody is actually breaking rules, then we have systems in our rules to deal with that. But if it's just finding that somebody is you know, not very good at keeping their paperwork, or they're disorganized or something like that, then we actually brought up what Yvette said, that it could be a training issue. So it could be a tool to help somebody become more organized or things like that. So, yeah, breaking a rule is one thing. If it is proven, just like any other rule that we have, we have that system. This is no different than anything else.
Mr. Chair.
Seth.
Mr. Chair.
Oh, Seth, I thought that speaker was across the room.
Yes,
Go ahead.
I guess my question is still the one I've had the last three meetings. What rule is this going to be implemented under? Because quite frankly, if there's no rule, the Bureau cannot do it. The Bureau can ask me for anything they want to tomorrow. I do not have to comply. If there is no rule that states I have to do it. So we're talking about entering in a new rule for this. Is that correct? Because I still don't understand how OPM saying something to PE program is all of a sudden something that we have to comply with.
Somebody said something to me a long time ago that made me mad. They said, do you know the difference between a rule and a policy? And I still don't think I know, but anyway.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Amy.
I believe the rule that this would fall under is operators prepare and submit a monthly operating report to BE in the format prescribed by BE. When BE determines reasonable cause, as in our opinion, an OBM audit would be a reasonable cause, operators shall provide supporting documentation of information reported on the MOR. Verification of information does not constitute a records review.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Seth, and then I'm John.
Sorry about that. I guess my question is, if the rule that you're quoting there states for an operator, then that is operator with just cause. And just cause is not OBM going, we don't know where you got your numbers, so therefore we question everybody. That's an overreach by any, in my imagination, by anybody, that we question everybody because of that. I believe that rule is in place for if you think somebody's doing something wrong and you have a reasonable cause. That was the 35% that just you guys ignored what our recommendation was at that point in time. So how do we know our next recommendation is going to be accepted in any way? And again, if it is a personal for operator, then shouldn't there be a reason why the operator is subject to verification?
I was gonna say, isn't OBM's job to overreach?
Defending operators, as opposed to just saying, yes, we agree with your interpretation without a discussion on an agreement on the interpretation of the rule which you're quoting.
All right, thank you, Seth. John?
Mr. Chair, all companies are required to have an accounting audit every year. I don't know why we're special, we shouldn't have one in the first place, but I mean, I don't know what the big deal is. I mean, people are saying they want to hide.
Mr. Chair,
Frank?
I don't have anything to hide, but I'm gonna ask this question. We all know that depending on when you collect the cash from your machine and when the card reader, that typically those two don't balance exactly.
Mhm.
They do not balance. There's no way to get them to balance. So my question is, how is that going to, I guess my question is, how will that be used? How will, is that going to put an operator in some kind of trouble or on a performance improvement plan? The other thing is, and whether right or wrong, and I don't think I'm in violation of this rule, quarters are very hard to come by these days. When we go to the rest area, if there's quarters in machines, they are recycled right into the coin mech. I don't count them because we don't pull them out of the machine. We put them into the coin mech and they are reused. So again, it doesn't, the card reader is going to say one thing, but in actuality, the cash that's counted is only cash that is pulled from the machine. So anyway, I'm just trying to put, all I'm trying to do here is cover bases and trying to see,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be honest, I had a call on January the 11th. There were about 7 people on that call. And the feedback that I got and that Dave got was, you know, keep advocating for the operators, do what you can to stop this, so, that's what I'm elected to do, so that's what I'm trying to do. If there's some way we can do something that's not quite as intrusive, I'm open to that. I'm not saying we shouldn't do anything. I don't think anybody's against some type of control mechanism.
And do you guys think OBM's gonna go away?
Well, Mr. Chair, I'm gonna tell you, I had a conversation with somebody who said they were in touch with a member of one of our previous management teams who basically said that as far as they knew, OBM was never involved in this program. You can take that for what it's worth. I don't know what all that means, but I'm just gonna leave it.
I haven't been audited yet, but I know they're out there.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair,
I think Christie was trying to talk and then.
So, again, the whole point of the OBM audit is that they want to know that what is being collected revenue has some backup documentation. And I do believe that there's going to be variances on cash. And when we get into the variance, we've even talked, like, there should be like there could be a money amount, like, any variance of $50 or something. We can continue to talk about it. As for the consequences, and I think I was being mischaracterized earlier, but, we have rules, and the rules say that there even has to be a pattern, and we have to work with the local committee. And I even said, I don't know what the consequence is, that if someone continues to refuse, is it that they have to redo their MOR? What that looks like, I don't know. I don't think it's fair that 99% of the people comply and you have a person that doesn't and there's no consequences, but we're not there. To Annette's point, we're not even there yet. OBM and this audit, it is an audit of OOD. They do hold the purse strings. We can't just say we're not complying. And we're trying to make it as broad as possible, to give as most notice as possible. Like, it's not a random audit that, you don't know that you're going to be on a list. As much time possible. And again, if we go back, because we've talked about this ad nauseum, and say, sorry, our people do not want to comply at all, I don't know what the ramifications are. I don't want to find out. And I just, I think that it's just a thing where I don't know what the harm is, and that was discussed yesterday. But it's not a gotcha. It's not a gotcha. It's never been a gotcha. They are, I don't want to despair OBM, but they're auditors that just, it's not a personal, and I know it feels personal, but they just want, their whole thing is, do you have backup documentation that shows what you're bringing in? That's the point of it. But that's it.
Mr. Chair.
Oh,
I was just going to kind of answer some of Frank's questions about, like, if you turn in your credit card report and it doesn't match your number. No one cares about that. That's not what it is. How did you get your sales number? What method did you personally use to get it? Some operators do look right at their credit card report and use that as their sales, and that's it. Some do not. Some have a method or a calculation they use to come up with what their sales are that might vary dramatically from what the credit card report would say. And if it does, you wouldn't even need to show them the credit card report, because that's a verification of nothing. All they want to know is how you came about your numbers. We could not find a harm in operators. All the potential harm was just speculation. This could happen. This might happen. Someone could get it in the wrong hands. And we said, if that happens, we know how to deal with that. Everyone at this table knows that I myself, Frank, Larry, Dare, all of us have fought in the past when things have gone awry. If it goes awry, we'll be there again to do that. And we'll keep it from happening. We don't see this with this. We just see, let's just give them the paperwork and get done with it. It's not worth all this headache, hassle. It's just not worth it. You know ahead of time, you have your papers. You say, okay, the month of November is my month, I'm gonna keep my papers here in this little envelope. They show up, you show it to them, takes 10 minutes, and it's done.
Thank you, Annette. Dave?
So, Mr. Chair, first off, it keeps getting mentioned. I want to know if OBM has ever hinted, suggested, or said that they plan on altering our funds or withholding funds or something like that. That has been said in multiple open meetings, that OBM may have a possibility of altering our funds.
Man, who wants to get to that point? But I hear what you're saying, but there's gonna be something at the end
I
of the
mean,
road.
it's either a scare tactic that should not be employed, or OBM has actually said that. And we need to know which.
Mr. Chair,
Amy?
the question keeps getting posed to the program of what happens if we don't comply? What happens if we don't comply? We don't know. We don't know of any other agency that says like, we're not complying. So we don't know what happens.
Yeah.
We are saying OBM as a state agency, they are in charge of spending authority. They're in charge of any money that gets spent in the state, any revenue that comes into the state. So we're saying we don't know what can happen, but they have the authority to say, OOD, you're not gonna get this or this. Like it goes through legislatures and everything like that. We have no idea. They've never said anything. And our thought is, we don't wanna ask them either what happened.
Was OBM involved with the money we got to remodernize the program?
So OBM, the budget, you know, OBM's a big, huge agency. These auditors are just auditors. They don't have that control. But OBM, yes, they supported our agency to get those funds.
And if our we got like a credit rating with them, if it goes down, they'll stop probably.
So again, we don't want to be on a report as not complying with an audit. I don't want to be on a report that states that the business enterprise refuses to comply with an audit.
David, and then
So
hold on a sec.
my other question is, my question, did OBM say or hint at that? Never got answered. My other question is, did the Bureau go to OBM and explain to them that we are all self-employed people and that they cannot impose this on us like we're employees, unless of course we are?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, you bet.
I think that we all signed a Bureau operator agreement to comply with certain things that we're in a contract with the Bureau.
Mm-hmm.
And their auditor, their OBM office is asking us for them to have us make sure that we're documenting and how we're getting the numbers that we're putting and we're submitting to the Bureau. I don't understand why we are fighting tooth and nail over something, and that means that you all came up with a way where we have months in advance notice, always, what is the big deal?
Yeah.
What is the big deal?
All right.
Mr. Chair.
Seth?
Oh,
Go ahead, Seth.
Yes. Yes, first of all, well, I have like 3 or 4 things now, so I'll try to keep it as under 5 minutes as much as possible.
You don't have to do 5 minutes, Seth. There's no.
I understand. It was more a joke. OBM and the BE program, OOD, are state agencies. OBM has said that they audited BE. We understand. BE has been working with the OVRC because we are not employees of BE. OBM says they need verification. Our verification are our MORs. I don't understand that. And to get to you at that point, it's not a matter of am I afraid or worried about this. It's a matter of BE sitting down and forcing us to do something that they have no legal right to do. And threatening us with OBM is going to cut off our funds when everybody knows that OBM has no control over the funds. They disperse the funds. It's the state, it's the legislature that decides how taxpayer money is used. I guess that's what.
Mr. Chair, Seth, if
Yes.
we are overseen by an agency, I'm not sure if I
You're not.
follow where you're coming from.
I'm sorry, Yvette, we're not overseen by an agency.
Yeah,
We operate under
yes,
the
we
umbrella
are.
of an agency.
Yes,
But
we
they have
are,
no
Seth.
say or statement in our individual business. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yes, we are, Seth. We are overseeing, when you signed that bureau operator agreement and you were giving access, because remember, we are not in contract with these grantors. The bureau is. The bureau is that in-between agency, that's in between us and our businesses. Okay? We do not contract directly with any of the facilities that we run. So, you all got to understand, you are overseen by an agency. The agency has to comply with an office that they are bound to. And they're asking us to come up with a way. They're asking us, why wouldn't we want to have that in our control? Why would we want to wait till OBM or the agency decides this is what you're gonna do, put something worse than what they're asking upon us? And you said we can't do this, what are you guys gonna, I don't understand. I'm not sure where you guys are coming from.
Thank you, Yvette. Are we supposed to put a motion here?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I'd
I
like to make some
would like to
motions.
respond before that.
Oh, go ahead, Seth. I think we got an idea of what you're gonna say.
Yeah, I mean, look, the point of the matter is, we are not under BE. BE is required by law to supply Bureau Grantor Agreement, to supply everything that BE supplies. They're required by law to do that. They're not doing that because they're just giving us jobs. It's a requirement by law that they do that. But we are independent companies. We are not employees.
Thank you,
They have
Seth.
no
Okay,
say
I got
in
one
our
thing to say.
individual business.
We can do a motion and have more discussion if you like, or just,
I got one other thing to say, Mr. Chair. It's just like Social Security. You all get Social Security. Are you gonna tell the Social Security office what you are and are not going to provide to them when they request it? Okay, it's an agency. Isn't Social Security, are you guys in disagreement? Is the Social Security office an agency?
Yes.
Okay, so when they send you something to tell you that you have to send them this, and that to prove your work and this, that, and the other, are you gonna tell them, go jump in the lake? Or are you gonna prove it? Are you gonna send it? So you can continue to get whatever funds that you're receiving.
you know
from them.
what, you guys, I'm tired of hearing everything, and I
I'd like to
put up
make a
with it.
motion
Thank you, Annette.
that we accept the recommendation of the work group that was presented for the conducting of the baseline reviews of operator MORs.
We're gonna need a second from somebody.
I'll say.
Keith, second.
Now, Mr. Chair, I'm gonna say, I'm with you, I did not like this whole thing, didn't like it from the beginning, I was very much against it. I didn't like the way it all went around and went about. But upon studying it, reflecting on it, being part of this work group, being part of the OBM discussions, when they were doing this, it's just not the big deal that it's being made out to be. We have spent way more hours, heartache, tears discussing this than this will ever be worth. And we could be wrong. They could come back later and add something more. I know that's a fear. There could come back later and say this isn't right. I know that's a fear. Right now, there's no indication of any of that. It's indicated, here's your month, here's your paperwork, you're done. That's all that's being indicated right now. And I do not want to take the chance, even if it's a small one, of any threat to the finances of this program. Now, an operator, if they disagree with it, if this passes and we move on with it, if somebody disagrees with it, they have a right to grieve it, they can fight it, and they may win. And if they do, then they'll come back and we should sit here in an OVRC meeting and allow them to spend an hour telling us they told us so. But I don't think that's gonna happen, but they have a right to let that happen. And I just think, I'm done with this. I'm so tired of talking about this. I'd rather just give them my paperwork and move on.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, David.
well, my two questions never got answered from earlier. Did OBM ever say at any point that they were going to mess with our funds? And did the Bureau go to OBM and explain to them that we're self-employed people? Those are two questions that I still would like to have answered. To Yvette's point about the fact that we signed a Bureau operator agreement, yes. And that Bureau operator agreement requires us to comply with the rules in our program, not be subject to massive overreaches for incessant verifications. We all have to go out every day and fill machines. We don't get to sit at home and come up with more verifications than we want. And I was on that work group. My input was dismissed as easily as you all dismissed SEDS in this meeting. And that would not be the recommendation that I would have. I'm not saying nothing needs to be done, but I'm 200% sure this is a, and if you want to demonstrate how bad this is going to go, just go ask Tom Neal.
Mr. Chair, I just want to make one comment. I apologize if you feel I was dismissing you or Seth, because I would not do that. I have too much respect for you both. I just disagree. That's
Wow.
what that was.
Nice. Is it time to vote?
Mr. Chair, I do think that this will turn into a massive overreach and that we will eventually have to come back and deal with that and whatever the consequences of that will happen to be, because I'm sure there will be some, but we will.
I've personally been through records reviews, and I don't remember any of this stuff happening.
Mr. Chair, you never had to verify sales, never.
Yes, I
Yes, we
did.
did.
Oh, you did.
Yeah, we did. We did.
You had to do sales.
Dave, years ago, I've been audited at least 2 or 3 times doing the Lisa Camp. Every year it happened. Every year. They took a year or 2 of my sales. She wanted to go through every bit of receipts and everything. I had to have them documented. Most people probably didn't do it. When I started questioning why was I chosen every year, but I'm telling you, yes.
That's just because she did it wrong, doesn't mean she did all.
Okay, I understand what you're saying,
But
but I'm
Mr.
just saying,
Chair-
no, let's not say it never happened.
I would like my 2 questions answered.
Mr. Chair,
Amy?
I believe when I spoke the last time, I said that OBM never said anything. And I said, we didn't really want to ask them what happens if we don't comply. As for the other thing, I am not for sure. I wasn't involved in the phone calls that were taking place with OBM. Since this program is under a state agency, again, this is a federally funded state-ran program. You guys are operators in the program. The revenue you pay into the program gets matched with federal funds. That's why it's being reviewed. I think that they are well aware of you guys being self-employed. It's just the fact that you are a part of this program.
Mr. Chair, that doesn't answer my question. Who was on those phone calls? Did you explain to OPM that we are self-employed people and they can't impose this on us like we're employees?
Mr. Chair, I was on some of the phone calls, and they were aware, they are aware that we are self-employed.
Mr. Chair, I was looking for an answer from the Bureau.
Oh, Dave, stop. Let's get the vote going, please.
Well, I think you're in a, you shouldn't say stuff like that.
I think you're just,
You're not even on the committee, are you?
That has no relevance.
Who made the second? This is mine. Who made the second?
Keith.
Keith.
Keith? And who was just speaking about, the relationship between operators and, the program?
Dave Ragazzi.
Dave and Amy.
Not Dave, after Dave.
Amy?
Is that Amy?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, I got it.
Call for the question, Mr. Chair.
Oh, Annette,
Yes.
Frank,
Yeah.
Mark,
Yes.
I'm lost over here.
Missy.
Missy,
Yes.
Keith,
Yes.
and I'm yes as well.
Is that a unanimous vote? It is. isn't it?
No, Frank
Frank
voted
said
no.
no.
Frank said no.
All right, part two.
Oh,
Alright.
Yeah, we're not done yet.
Mr. Chair, I am reading this from notes from the work group meeting. So this is about the variance. This is the other part of the OBM audit. We attempted to start this before. Things weren't being told consistently. There were some questions, so we paused, met with the work group again, and here's the recommendation. So the variance is like if there is a 35% increase or decrease, then it would trigger need for documentation. There are some things that would exclude you from this. So an operator transition, and just back up a little bit, the variance is the same operator in the same facility being compared to the previous year, the same month. So if June you have an increase or decrease of more than 35%, you would have to provide documentation. Unless there's an operator transition, a facility reconfiguration. So this is if like a facility kind of like 715, for example, it used to be the roads, cafeteria, along with all the site attachments that went with that. It got split up. That facility is completely changed. It's just CDC now, I think. So it would not make sense to compare that 715 as it is now to 715 last year. For if there's site attachments and machines, you would collect that first month that there is a variance, and then for the next 12 months, you would not have to provide the documentation because it's noted that there is a site attachment. Facility closures, so like the rest area closures, things are completely shut down, you would not need to provide documentation. Some things that were posed to the work group, questions. Do you want to compare expenses all together as a percentage, and then you would need to provide documentation for all the expenses? Or look at all your expenses separately and provide documentation for the expenses that only change 35% or more? If you go that route, do you look at the expense variance percent and the dollar amount? So if you gave $3 in refunds this month, this year, but last year you gave any, it would be more than 35% increase. But since it's only $3, do we need that documentation? So is there a cap on a dollar amount? Is it $25 or more, or something like that? And then a note would be like if you're collecting documentation for a variance, say your storage changed or you had a vehicle switch, we would collect it for that first month, and then we wouldn't collect it again for the following 12 months that it was affected.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, sir.
let's go, Yvette.
This is getting in the weeds. I am trying to follow that. So you're saying, so an operator, so I'm gonna just use myself, who has probably moved, once a year.
17 times.
Right. Once a year. So you are going to compare that operator with the same facility. You're not going to try to do that with different facilities. It has to be the operator with in the same facility.
Mm-hmm. Not a prior operators.
Mr. Chair.
You'll never get audited.
Yeah.
No, I'm trying to find a hole.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
The way the report is ran is by facility, and then whatever operators in there. But so if you are like yourself and move a lot, you would be excluded from this variance because you're not going to be compared to another operator. You're not going to be compared like
Until you get your 12 months under you.
right. So if you're there for a whole year prior, and then the following year you have that variance, that's when you.
And this is not to compare operator to operator.
Nope.
It's just facility
right
to facility.
all,
No, not even
this,
Okay.
along with the baseline, is just to verify the number that you put in your MOR. So
Yes.
if you have a documentation, like, how did you come up with that number? We don't care, like, what your method is.
Okay.
It's just, when you file your MOR and sit down with your documentation, what documentation did you use to put that number in your
Okay.
MOR?
I think
So there's no comparison, it's not this is too high,
Yeah,
and this
but
is why it's happening.
I understand the baseline thing,
Yeah.
it's just how we're getting to it.
Seth?
Yes, if permitted, I'd like to ask Amy like 4 or 5 questions. They're very fun. First of all, you said if there's a change in the facility, such as a site attachment, you're not required for the 35%. Was that correct?
Mr. Chair, so for site attachments, because, a site attachment could be one machine, it could be a whole building. So with the work group, because it's hard to quantify that. They saying if you do have a site attachment, you would report your documentation for that first month, and then you would not have to report the documentation for the rest of that year, or the rest of that 12 months.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
So at the beginning, you said that if there's a change in the facility, which a site attachment would be a change in the facility, you would not be required. Like if they closed down 2 of my buildings that used me, that's a change in the facility. I'm not understanding why, if they close something, that's okay, you just believe us, but if we take a site attachment that changes us by 35%, that is something that needs verified. I'm just trying to understand the difference between us, please.
Well, if you went down 35%, wouldn't they want to see that as well, or? Is it a change period, or is it the variation that triggers it?
Mr. Chair, it's any change that is greater than 35%. So it doesn't matter if it's a decrease or increase, it's just a way to point out an anomaly and verify that number for that specific category. So it wouldn't be like you've changed more than 35%, so need all the documentation for your MOR. And I understand that some things trigger more than one category. So if your sales went down, maybe your stock went down, that type of thing, your labor may go down. So you may be submitting more than one thing because it does alter it, but there's a lot of times where a building closes or you add a machine or take a machine away and it doesn't really increase it more than 35%. I mean, 35% is a pretty good chunk of a business.
With universities, there's a lot of swings with the winter breaks and the.
Yeah, but that's different each year.
And that's why it's compared to the same month from the previous year. So ideally, like universities, the summer months are kind of going to be the same. The same with rest areas. Your summer months are going to be bigger than your winter months. So that's why you're only comparing the same exact month from the previous year.
Mr. Chair, I don't really have a problem with the 35%. I do have a couple of, I believe them to be very serious concerns. I got a call from an operator who I guess had got their stock purchase down by 35%, and they got the call that they needed all the documentation and everything. But I think his facility had went through somewhat of a reconfiguration, so I don't know where that stands. But the concern I have with that is if somebody does something to improve themselves, improve their facility, and get an expense down by 35%, if we're still gonna put them through that, my concern there is that people will just, go the road of, okay, I don't wanna go through all that, I'll just not make the correction, and it could cost our program service charge dollars. That's one concern. The other concern on the list of, I guess I'll call it a list of exemptions or exceptions. The other one that I had thought about was back on over Thanksgiving weekend at the rest area, I had 2 pop machines on the busy end of the rest area, both of them go down simultaneously. And, that caught my attention thinking about this 35%, and I went, wow, you know, if my sales go down by 35%, I could get flagged for something that I didn't even do. It's a maintenance and repair issue. One machine got fixed fairly quickly. The second machine didn't get fixed till, you know, like December 20th or something like that. But that still could have, now I don't know if it did or not, but I haven't done the paperwork yet, went through it, everything, and done percentages and all that. But, so that's a concern. I think we might want to, or I'm going to suggest that we try and build something in if there's a maintenance and repair issue, that the machines are down for some crazy amount of time that could cause sales to drop by 35%. But the other part of it that I was talking about, I would suggest, or I would like for us to, don't want it to be a punishment or a hassle for people who take the time, make the effort to improve themselves and get, you know, whether it's stock purchased or some other expenses, get them down to where the program, the operator and the program are getting more money. So just my thoughts and my concern.
Mr. Chair.
That's what I have.
So are we looking at like the overall business of the change, or are we talking, we're speaking about expenses and stuff like that? And how are we as the OVRC, are we having, we need to make sure that we're not making our constituents feel like if they get a call that they're doing, it's something wrong. Because I think some of us on here feel that way. Well,
That, I think, I was asked to show documents. That variance is gonna trigger a lot of things at a lot of times.
Mr. Chair, I kind of have a different point of view on it, where is, I'm gonna use Frank's 35% thing. If a guy get his inventory down, expense down 35%, I think it would be something that we would all like to learn from to get ours down. I mean, you know, you can look at it as a bad thing, or you can take it as some positive. Because if nobody knows what other people are doing, none of us think the same. Somebody said it earlier. So the things that are working for everybody, for this person or that person, if we can take that and incorporate it into our business, we would all gain from that. Instead of, oh no, not it's a problem.
You know, I wanted to bring up a point. Like, I spent more money in December because I was going on vacation in January, and I bought everything I had, so it'd be there and ready for the next month, and that's going to be easily explainable. But that month is going to look like I spent too much money. But next month it's going to even out, and we're looking at specific months instead of maybe quarters, or yeah, every 3 months, like a bundle instead of, because everybody knows the shit. I had to buy a Vistar and a Coke and Pepsi on the last day of the month. Now that month looks horrible, but I'm not going to buy nothing for another 2 weeks.
Yes.
And 1 month is not, it's a 1 month is going to create an enormous amount of paperwork, paper chasing, and extra follow-up when it's easily explainable. And if you looked, like there's a couple of months where my numbers are horrible, but at the end of the year, I have an excellent cost of goods.
Yes.
But,
Mr. Chair.
yes.
So I guess my thought process on this is if you would want to do it by quarter, then you would have to have documentation for that whole time.
But you would probably guarantee eliminate half, 2/3 of the people that would be tagged for the month.
Yeah, and Mr. Chair, I just kind of want to reiterate what Yvette was touching on a little bit. Like, this isn't, just because you get a call asking for this doesn't mean you've done anything wrong. Even if you've decreased your sales by 35%, still doesn't mean that we're saying, you know what, you're not doing great, we need a receipt. Like, that's not what this is. It's literally to, when you sit down and do your MOR and you put that number in, it's just to say, yeah, this is how I got that number, or this is my like receipt for this, and that's why I put that number there. It's not to say we're judging your business. Like, This is literally to check a box to remedy this audit. We're not judging anybody's business. Like, it has nothing to do with this variance thing. It was just a consistent way to identify anomalies. And because if we go back to one thing, it's like, well, we're targeting people, and how do you, everyone has the inconsistency. Well, Canton's doing it one way, but Dayton's doing it a different way, and Columbus is doing it their own way. So this was like the best way to put it. Everyone's getting the same treatment across the board.
Mr. Chair.
She brought up a good point about the little tiny refund. 35% of $10 ain't very much, so that, but, was that David?
No, that was Dwayne.
Dwayne, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so just a comment on, what you had said, at the end of the month, you could, have a Vistar or Pepsi or whatever, just on the last day, and it could trigger you over that 35%. That kind of happened to me a few months ago where, my cost of goods was real high for 1 month. And then I had to submit the paperwork, which was no big deal to me. But then the following month,
You did it again.
I was looking at my gross profit margin, and it was like at 80% for that month because, part of that cost of goods carried over into
The other barriers.
whatever. But anyways, I think that the idea of doing a quarter as opposed to, comparing last year is a good idea. But I think even better than that is if you could do like maybe a 3-month rolling average, and compared to that, it might be even a little bit better.
So,
You're just not looking at something in the rearview mirror 12 months ago. It's more current.
Who's speaking? Who's speaking?
Dwayne Burkholder. Mr. Chair, again, I think you guys are thinking too much into it. If the whole point of this is, and what Amy was trying to say, let's say your cost of goods are normally, $200 a month, and then the next month it's $800, and that's what you put on your MOR, and it triggers this 35%. All OBM, all this, the whole point is, okay, 800, they spent $800, and that's what's on the MOR. That's it. It's not the health or how the business is doing or the overall. It's just.
I wasn't
just to say.
Pushing back. I was
this
just
is,
saying it's going to be a lot of work.
Well, I think it's going to be a lot more work to try to do rolling averages and also to do a quarter, and then I think that could be more paperwork. And then how do you figure out what was actually? It's just checking that. It's reconciling a checkbook. Like, okay, I spent this, and this is what it was recorded. That's it.
Well, I was just saying, like Dwayne brought up, 3 Vistars if you order 2 Vistars a month, every 2 weeks, and then 3 pop up, there's 35% right there. That's what I was just trying to say. Yep. Who's next? You bet.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Christie, the only thing about it is for us to create that accurate baseline. Just if that's the baseline we're using for that facility, that's why we're. I kind of agree with Dwayne. I mean, and Larry about the quarter, because that would probably show more of an accurate. I think it'd be more work on the consultant than anybody.
It would. I think it'd be less work at the end of the day if you set it up.
Well, I'm just saying, just keeping track of all this, period. But I'm saying if we're going to do an accurate baseline, because I run all my inventory down in December. I run it down, get rid of all those dates and stuff, and then I buy more in January. So, that would create a variance. That would create that. But I think quarterly would give you a more accurate baseline than, like you said, monthly.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
John was next. I'm sorry.
Can I speak?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Sorry. So are you saying you're going to ask for receipts for whatever the variance is from year to year, or are you just going to ask for an explanation?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I just kind of also want to this report, what's on this report, what variances we're looking at, are sales, wages, and expenses. And I know stock is included in that, but we're not looking necessarily at cost of goods as a percentage, we're not looking at gross profit as a percentage. So it's just like those,
The number that,
Like it's sales
from
wages
last
and
year to,
expenses. Okay.
yeah, from last January to this January, or December to December.
Mr.
If
Chair,
you-
did answer my question.
okay, what was your question?
Are you, like, so if you find a variance, for example, from last year, so are you gonna ask for an explanation, or are you gonna ask for receipts? It's totally different.
It was receipts.
Yeah, documentation, we asked OVM. We have to have
Yes.
documentation.
So you're gonna want documentation for both years, then, basically?
No, not both years, just the month that you filed, like,
No, I'm talking about for both months, because if you only ask for documentation for the ones this year, then.
it,
there's no sense.
but it's not to prove that
Yeah.
there was the change or it happened. It is to prove that what you put in your MOR is, there's documentation for that.
That's it.
So the comparison was just to, a way to identify what to look at,
Mhm.
but not to necessarily say like, well, you need last year's to prove that this variance happened. It is just it's just the month of this, whatever year we're in.
Mark? Wait. that's-
What if, say, your permanent facility closes down and you're doing temporary work, and you take your expenses from your permanent facility and move it on to the temporary job because it has nowhere to go now? Is that
So-
going to trigger?
So I think with that, it would be, because we kind of discussed this a little bit in the work group yesterday, that we would put like that reason why and be web as a note of what had happened. And then from that rolling 12 months, you would be excluded.
Mr. Chair, this is Mott. I have a question for Amy. When you said expenses vary by 35%, are you talking, and wages and stock purchases? All right, it's easy to go, stock purchases 35, whatever, wages 35, but when it comes to expenses, are you talking about for the month, the total of expenses, or the expenses of any one expense item?
Mr. Chair, that was something that the work group wanted to ask the committee whether to do expenses as a whole, so like one category, and then you provide documentation for all expenses if there's a variance, or look at them individually and provide documentation for just those individual expenses.
Man, this one's a nightmare.
Mr. Chair,
John?
individual makes more sense, because why should we have to explain everything if it's not initially?
I'm sorry, Dawn, I didn't hear you.
Individual makes more sense, because why would you want receipts for all expenses if most of them are not affected?
It was just what the committee
I
had
know, I
said.
know.
I just didn't want to
I
make
just-
that
I just
decision.
gave you my opinion.
I'm with you, but it's not my decision to make.
Mr. Chair, it just came up because there was some confusion among some of the consultants and even some operators, which way it was gonna be done. So we were just answering the question, and I agree it should be individual.
Mr. Chair, I do want to know, why not just do the total of what the expenses is, and if it increased by 35 or dropped by 30, or whatever, how we're doing this?
Can-
Why wouldn't you do the overall expenses?
Can I have somebody from the state do my MOR? And just cut out the middleman?
Well,
You'll be able to get it back.
Shit, save me some
Why
time.
wouldn't we be, but, and that's what I'm trying to ask.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't it be why wouldn't you just take the whole of what the total expenses, and if it was a change in the total?
Mr. Chair, can I answer that?
No,
If you do the total and there's a variance, you're not gonna want your receipts for every single expense. Because they just do the individual expenses and then just move the other receipts for that individual expense, which is a lot easier on you. So it's in your interest as an operator just to do the individual expenses. That's why, in my opinion.
I kind of agree with that. Man, you guys are gonna be real busy. Really busy.
Now,
We-
Mr. Chair, I don't believe we need to vote on it, because we already voted on, this is just tweaking how we're gonna do it. So we've already voted on doing the 35% variance. This is just kind of making sure, because when they tried to roll it out before, there was a big disaster. No one knew what to look for, operators were being asked for stuff they shouldn't have been asked for, and being told things they shouldn't have been told. So, and I'll give the Bureau credit, when we brought this to their attention, they stopped it. They said, we're not gonna keep asking until we square this stuff up. So,
Gotcha.
hopefully, now if everyone's on board with this stuff, then, everyone will be on the same page and it'll be done properly.
Is that Seb? Go ahead, Seb.
Mr. Chair. First of all, no disrespect in that, but the board voted to a 35% variance with a phone call to ask why. So we have never agreed as a board to have turn in receipts. BE came back and said, no, you're gonna have to give the receipts, and now all of a sudden we're just talking about it as if it's a foregone conclusion. The board has never voted to supply receipts for a 35% variance. So that would be something that the board would have to put on paper before it could be implemented.
Mr. Chair, actually, he's right. I read
Okay.
that note from that. He's right.
And then we can do that.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Dave.
I like the idea of doing quarters as opposed to individual ones. And I like even more that we would only be asking for documentation for the individual expense that's affected and not everything. Because
It'll be a lot of
the
work.
first thing in the OEM audit was how to streamline it for the Bureau. Well, it needs to be streamlined for operators also. And this helps do that. Quarters and only the expense affected.
Yeah, I completely agree, because I'm going to be chasing down. Like I said, I should just send you all my shit every month and just be done with it. It's going to be a lot. I mean, I got to figure out, should I go ahead and buy this now or wait till next week so I don't have to dig through these receipts?
So, Mr. Chair,
Seems like a four-way to run a business.
So, with all due respect, Mr. Chair, I don't understand, because when you file an MOR on the 24th, most people do it on the 24th. We're going to be asking that if it's over 35%, we're going to be asking in the next 3 weeks. What you're proposing is we do a quarter, and so now you have to dig through receipts from 3 months ago.
No, what I'm trying to say is a month is a small window when it comes to universities and rest areas where they have these ups and downs all year long. And if I decide one week I'm going to go get my stuff because schools start next week, it's going to be, I spend a lot of money here, or this year I don't, because it's just too easy. 1 month is a small picture. 3 weeks
And
or 3 months will eliminate, because it'll balance out. 3 months will balance it out. You'll have less receipts to ask for, because 1 month I'll have a high cost of goods. The next month, like Dwayne said, it went down. And then the next month I'm back on pace, and it all evened out. We won't have to talk about those 2 months at all, because it all worked out.
Mr. Chair, inclement weather also can make a difference.
So,
Yeah, a rainy
Mr.
day
Chair-
will shut down.
Weather, snowstorms.
we're willing to do quarters, and check and figure that out. If that's what you guys want, we can do quarters.
It's as simple as one extra Vistar order a month would trigger a 35% in some locations.
But
if you had the whole 3 months, they would like, oh well, there's no variations here. Like I said, at the end of the year, my cost of goods is on point. But there's 2 or 3 times a year at the school where it's all out of whack, and it's every year. It's every year.
Mr. Chair, if it's every year, it's going to be the same month every year.
No, not necessarily, because school can start. There could be a week that's missing in the winter. Or like I just explained, I went on vacation. I tore this December up, but January is going to be, I'll do it real well in January, but I paid for a whole bunch of stuff in December. Like I'm saying, there's anomalies that can happen to each and every one of us where it just triggers something for the month, but that after 2 or 3 months it evens out. And that's what I'm saying. When it evens out, there won't be no questions asked. Everything's fine. By creating the 3 months, you will eliminate a lot of work. By doing it month to month, I'm going to send you my MOR every month, and you guys can just deal with it.
So, Mr. Chair, would you recommend, because we have to be consistent and standardize this, like when you say quarterly, it would be January, February, March for everyone. It wouldn't be an operator
Whatever
saying.
3 months we want.
Yeah.
No,
that
no,
would be
no.
too complex.
A sensible quarterly. You just determine the quarters and go from there. January, February, March, and throughout the year. But it really will. It's going to eliminate a lot of the back and forth. I mean, some people pay. Yeah, it will. I promise. It will. You guys see the MORs after they're done, but like we run into situations where, something as simple as the vehicle broke down or something, repair, but at the end of the quarter, it works itself out. And
Larry, Mr. Chair, this is Mott. I have a detail about your quarter. That's a great idea, by the way. But it's going to be difficult if you do these miscellaneous expenses by the each. If anybody gets, they're going to have to then.
Good point, Tom.
To add up each individual.
Can we do
individual expense? They'll have to do the miscellaneous by the total miscellaneous for each quarter.
Are we going to use dollar amounts for expense variations or percentages for expense variation? I mean,
Mr. Chair.
if I got a 10%, I'm allowed 10% for my, like using old goals for instance. If I'm allowed 10% expenses, and one went up 1 month, but next month it got back into place. If we go specifically after the dollar amount, we're going to be going after the dollar amount. If we go after the percentage of variance, if my percentage went from 10 to 13 or 15%, are we looking for percentages or dollar amounts? That's my question. Because the dollar amount's going to trigger a lot more than a percentage increase.
Yes, 35% period. So if it goes up from 10 to 15, it won't do anything.
Well, I guess we go back. I'm sorry. I guess we're going to go back from individual expense to the total. Then
No,
that's
the total
right.
is the same. The total, storage. If your storage goes up 10%, it'll never trigger it. If it's, if it's.
Yeah.
But I like the quarter. I think it would do a lot less. It'd be a lot less work for the bureau too. I mean, I'm with Larry. There'll be many less flags because.
I agree. Because I know my personal situation.
Yeah, and well, you use the thing like pest control. That's when I have various months of the year, but not every month. And sometimes it might be in March I pay it, and sometimes it might be April. And if I paid in March one year and April the next under the months, it would flag it for both months. But under the quarter, it wouldn't. Well, or if it did, less likely.
Mr. Chair, I think if you have like major expenses, like a vehicle repair or tires or brakes or something, stuff that costs, that's up there, that'll probably, I don't know if that would even out over a quarter or not.
That might trigger everything. Yeah, the expenses, those one-time expenses, that you probably won't be able to get away from that. But the sales and the cost of goods, I think that would even itself out. But those individual expenses are going to be checked on.
Mr. Chair.
Seth?
Just trying to get clarification. So are we talking about if I buy another phone, there wants to check all of my other expenses because my telecommunications stuff went up?
No.
Okay, so we're doing, if my telecommunication goes up, you just want to check my telecommunication?
Yep.
Okay, and can we put something where it's just preemptive? Save all this crap, somebody goes out and buys an iPad to make it work easier, just send their consultant, bought an iPad, here's the receipt.
Yep.
Yeah. With the rest of my MOR.
Can we preliminarily do stuff? That'd be cool. We know
Sure.
everything's gonna go up here, take it and leave me alone.
I asked about him, Mr. Chair, I asked about him, how much of all the consultants thinking, oh, Lord. I don't know if that's a great idea.
They're gonna get it sooner or later.
I like that. He's here. Hey, I
Isn't that-
retire.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, do we need to, are we
I don't
voting
know if we
on
need
that?
to
so
vote.
we can-
I wouldn't even know where to begin to put a vote together now that we changed it, so. It's not as simple as just saying, take the recommendation, because if we want to do quarters,
Quarters with individual expenses.
okay, yeah, I can try this.
And Mr. Chair, Amy said it's not about, they're looking at expenses, wages, and what was the other thing, Amy?
Sales.
Sales, wages, and
Expenses and wages.
Cost of goods.
That's everything.
I don't think cost of goods.
And whether we agree or not agree, I know some of us are not happy about it, we ought to make sure that we let our constituents know this is not a
Yeah.
punishment.
Yeah, Mr. J, that's something we do have to figure out how to make sure people, because there is a lot of angst, and I realize that, even though most of the people I've talked to are fine with it, until it becomes themselves, and then they think it's they see it as a punishment. And I don't know how to get it where people don't see it as a punishment, they just see it as a checking a box. And I don't know how to do that. I mean, because sometimes it is, sometimes it's not a punishment, it's a hurrah. If your sales went up over 35%, that's good for you, that's awesome.
I don't like change.
Yeah.
You don't want to sell increase?
I like hope, but I don't like change.
So, okay. I move that we do the variant of 35% verification quarterly using individual expenses, cost of goods and sales and wages.
Can I say it's something?
Yeah, I think I got that one.
And then
Yes.
individual sales as well, because we have more than one.
Oh, do we wanna do that? You mean like for counter or
Yeah.
vending or? No, we don't wanna do that. No, we don't need to do
Getting in.
I'm not-
that.
Do we get a second? Or-
Yeah, okay, that's it.
Second.
Okay.
Who's the second?
Keith,
Keith Trammell.
Mr.
Wait, who?
Keith Trammell.
Okay, Keith, thank you.
And Mr. Chair, how are we supposed to document,
Miss-
employee, wages?
Canceled check, what do you call that? Yeah,
Pay stubs.
pay stubs.
That's, Mr. Chair, that you can't compel people to show, you can't compel people to show documents of their employees.
just the number.
Locked in on your social security.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
so this motion includes cost of goods, and
Yeah.
that wasn't on the report. Are you guys wanting it on the report?
No.
Oh, okay, no.
I thought you said that was the cost
No,
of goods.
No, I said it was not.
Well, didn't you
So-
say stock purchases?
No, she didn't.
Yes, stock is a part of your expenses.
No, it's not. That's cost of goods.
Cost of goods and stock purchases is the same thing.
Yes, it is.
You have to use stock
No.
to figure out cost of goods.
No, you're, maybe
Beginning
you,
inventory plus.
maybe,
All right, stock purchases then,
maybe
not-
we
not
shouldn't even
cost
have
of
this
goods. It's-
rule.
I think a lot of people use stock and inventory to figure out their cost of goods, but stock is an expense. If you look at a basic income statement,
Well, you
stock is
could
a
call
part
it
of
an expense if you wanted to argue that, but it is the basis of your cost of goods. Your expenses is
Yeah,
on the
okay,
side.
don't-
Okay, so would
Forget that I
you-
said cost of goods and put in stock purchases then.
You don't, your gross profit has nothing to do with your expenses.
Right.
only the cost of goods, which is your stock purchases.
But you're right, if because of the inventory adjustments and stuff, it could be more than what you want. You just want the stock purchases. So I amend my motion to include stock purchases and not cost of goods. Keith, will you?
Second.
Okay.
So you guys will have to separate stock purchases from expenses. Those are not the same thing.
It's
At all.
already reported separately. So your cost of goods is figured out, but you report stock separately.
Correct. Yeah, and you should keep them separate from expenses.
Mr. Chair, check with Mark, make sure he got the edit to the,
Yes, sir.
got the edit.
Tom, did you get all that?
Stock purchases, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
And I
Thanks.
do want to confirm, Annette,
Yes,
that the 35% variance
yes,
is dealing with individual miscellaneous expenses. So we're comparing like refunds to refunds
yes,
and so forth, not total miscellaneous expenses, correct?
yes.
Correct.
Okay.
You guys ready?
Yep.
Annette,
Yes.
Frank,
No.
Mark,
Yes.
Missy. I'm sorry,
Yes.
you're so new here. Keith,
Yes.
and I'm yes.
I'm so tired.
Oh, man.
OVM.
I can't remember what was next. Was it temporary operator extension? Or- Is it lunchtime now?
Yeah, lunch is good.
Not even close.
Oh, it's 11 o'clock.
Not even close.
Are we gonna do temporary?
I don't know, my phone, I haven't scrolled that far because I keep forgetting.
Can we discuss it, cause I wanna get going. Bring something.
The, yeah, let's go.
Everybody in agreement? I just wanna bring something to the committee. Everyone knows that I just took on 514 Buckeye Lake, and I'm over at Wright Pack right now. And I wanna see if the committee would allow me to continue to temp Wright Pack, because we combined this location, Wright Pack. I brought this to Sally's attention when I talked to her. Needs a lot of work. We have not changed our footprint on that base. The machines are way too big. Some areas we have machines placed. I've talked to the consultant, Scott, and we need to, before we put that back out for bid, a lot of changes need to happen. We're putting too much, we're asking operators to load these machines up. They're the biggest machines that we have in every building. And we're putting way too much inventory. Even if they're bringing people back, it won't be to the capacity that they did in 2020, 7 or any other time. It's just, there's people coming back, but there's 2 or 3 days. Telework has made a difference, but we haven't changed, and we have some machines. I want to keep track of each building. I'm making a spreadsheet so we can show what buildings or what are they doing there. I mean, the difference is where Larry was selling over here, Nicole was selling at a totally different price. I mean, there's no consistency, so we're trying to do that right now. As of right now, I don't even have half the credit card readers up and working because there were some issues with that over half the base. So, this could be a good facility for someone, but I don't want to get a newbie in there and they're overwhelmed with of trying to put product in these machines and dealing with some of the issues that we have out there. It could eventually be a good facility. As it stands right now, it's not. Scott's trying to get some smaller machines. We got to figure out where we can put those, get out those, other ones, and get it to where it should be.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
How long are you suggesting
I would say let's start at 90 days. 90, yeah.
Well, it takes 60 days to bid it and.
Yeah, so,
Right.
and then I'll come back to the committee, we can discuss whatever it is, that, you know, and I'll give Scott that information.
I like your idea, Yvette, but I just know there was another operator interested in that location.
That's, okay, well, there might not be, another
But-
operator interested, but.
But the reason why I'm saying that is, you know, I've been in this program a long time, and that location needs a person who's been in this program, seasoned person, to get that location to where it needs to be. It needs a lot of work. You ran it, Larry, you know.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's up to you guys. I'm just saying that, you know, you can do what you need to, you all wanna do, but I think that if you all allow me to work on this location, it's more work for me. I don't think my husband would be mad if you choose something different. But I think that this could be a good location, but we need to gel it together. We put two locations together, needs a lot of work. Some buildings, we probably shouldn't even have a machine. Some buildings, we need to move machines to a better area if possible. I mean, I'm working with Scott. Scott's been awesome about, you know, us figuring out what we need to do to make it more advertising to, you know, to someone.
Yeah, and this is, all due respect, I know you do a great job, and I have no problem with you doing it, because it sounds like a lot of work, and I think you do an awesome job of it. The only concern I have is you doing that, and your new facility, and the Madison County facilities. Is there anybody out there, where you've got basically 3 jobs, is there anyone out there who doesn't have any job, who might want something, or need something? That would be my only concern.
If they wanna take right now.
Cause I just,
would.
or Madison County.
Yeah. You know what?
I know that's due to.
Yeah, you triggered a chain of events, Yvette.
Let me just say this. I wouldn't, if I wasn't able to do it, I wouldn't be bringing it
I
to
know
the
you
committee.
wouldn't.
So everything that I'm doing, I can continue to do. If I am overwhelmed, I will let someone know that. So, you know, me running those rest areas will be closing in June, you know, it's no big deal. It's no big deal. I wouldn't take it on if I wasn't capable of getting
No,
it done.
I know you're very capable. I just wanna make sure there's not somebody sitting around who needs a job, while somebody has 3 of them. That's all I would worry
Well,
about.
the one that they can, if you wanna take on right back, they can take on right back.
But other than that, I'm good. I know you'll do fine.
Mr. Chair,
Keith?
I just want to attest to the actions he's talking about taking. Scott and I done the same thing with the post office. I cut down 10 to 12 locations, and my sales went up $5,000 monthly because I didn't have all that idle stock laying around and run to all these extra places. I was able to give the places that are doing sales more attention. So I just wanted to get that out for information.
You guys are making Scott's head too big.
It's on paper though, ain't it?
Just teasing.
Good.
I don't care. We don't have someone else wanting it at all.
If someone else wants to,
That was my only
if you all want to
So-
put that bid, I'm fine with it.
So-
I'm just saying, be
Mr. Chair.
aware that it needs to be worked. It needs
Seth?
work.
Yeah, just a quick question. Yvette, am I correct that you just took this over not too long ago before you bid 514?
Yes, well, yeah, we just actually transitioned in January because we were waiting on locks. I did get the right pat before that, but we were waiting on locks, so the transition didn't happen, with Larry, because half of it happened at the beginning, and then the week after, with Nicole. So we don't even have the credit card readers up and going yet. All of them.
Yes, but my question, my actual question then is, was there anybody else that bid on it that you beat them out?
Yeah, it was.
I guess that would be my only concern.
Yeah.
If there was other people that were actively
Yeah.
interested in it,
Yeah, if they're interested in it still, that's fine, it's just they gotta be aware that it needs work, I mean, I'm
She's not
fine with
interested in
A
it.
little bird is saying that she's not interested in it anymore. So.
And that person is tempting something else in the town.
Well, my concern, Mr. Chair, my concern is too, bringing, you need to make sure you get,
Sure.
bring these customers back and get someone seasoned in there to do the changes that need to be made.
Yeah.
Okay.
We need a motion.
No, it's only 90 days, the committee doesn't need to.
Now,
Because it's gonna turn into a temp agreement, when you
Yes.
take over your 514.
And Annette, don't
Yeah.
hold me, let's see where we are, because it
Well,
depends
yeah,
on
but
how we can get these
if-
machines in there and change.
If it gets
Okay.
extended beyond 6, then the committee will need to. wait.
Exactly.
But for a 90-day agreement, the committee does not.
Okay.
So can we, make a motion that it's a 6-month agreement so that you have adequate time to, address the issues and make the adequate changes?
Because like I
I'm
told you.
saying 90 days.
You can make whatever motion.
I'm thinking 6 months. Okay. This part I never did, Annette. I can use some help. I'd like to make a motion that Yvette be allowed to temp the right path location for 6 months for the adequate changes and upgrades that need to be done. Is that good enough? Am I missing something there?
No?
Is that key? Is that key?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I think you need someone to second it.
Yeah, we do. I say, can you put in there if somebody reaches out and says they want a permanent facility? We could, we'll have to get in there.
That's why I'm not seconding it or for it, because if somebody steps forward,
Hey, Valera,
Yes, sir.
not in on the committee, but do you want to put somebody in there and people are already irritated?
Well, I was gonna ask earlier if Yvette would be willing to job coach a new person.
Right, but the people out there now is irritated on some of the stuff that's going on before us, right?
Mhm.
Because I got a guy who come up to me and ask me, oh, I've been putting slips on the machine for 4 weeks, and I never got my money back.
Yeah.
You know, first time I've seen this guy. But you got other people talking about when you gonna get the machines out.
If, I would say this, if someone else, I'm always willing to help somebody, but let's get it turned around first.
Yeah,
We
you
need to
wanna
get
make
it
it-
together first.
You wanna make it a good, get the customers back, everybody happy. And then when you put somebody else in there, then you gotta go through the heavens.
That sounds like every location we got.
Sally,
We don't do no.
Sally, you got any comments? I mean, I know I discussed some of this. I know it doesn't matter.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it so we can have the discussion. I think maybe there's some more discussion to have, so I will second it so we can at least talk about it a little bit more.
Yeah, yeah, at the end of the day, we need somebody to work it, but I'm also concerned about somebody like who may want a job. That's it.
Now, I
wouldn't dare, Mr. Chair, I wouldn't dare want anybody to, or deny anybody a job. If you all know someone who wants to bid on that, who wants to be my guest, again, don't put a new person in a facility in a bad situation and expect them to be successful. Right now, you all have, you ran this, Larry, you already know.
My first job was a bad location,
Yeah.
and it was real easy to
Listen,
just show up and do the work, but I mean, not
You're
everybody's the
losing-
same.
You're losing money by,
Everybody not like EJ.
you're losing
nah,
money by
good or bad.
loading all of these machines, and they're too big for the facility. The world, everything has changed out there on the base, the dynamics, the footprint, even people coming back, they're only coming back 2, maybe 3 days a week, maybe 1 day a week, who knows? But we gotta make the facility.
Mhm.
And Mr. Chair, I do agree, we need somebody in there, a veteran operator in there to try and straighten this out, at least for a certain amount of time, whether that's 90 days or
Yeah.
6 months or whatever it can be. I almost wonder if we shouldn't do it incrementally, do the 90 days and then see where everything is, and if we need it, do another 90 days.
Gotcha.
I don't know, I don't have a problem with Yvette doing it, I don't think anybody does. I think we need somebody and want somebody there that can work with the consultant and work with management and try and get that location to where if we have a brand new operator walk in there, it's a location that's ready to go. And it's, you know, it will be able to be transitioned and turnkey like it's supposed to be.
Mark, oh wait, John, you have something?
I was gonna say, when you do 90 days, why does it say $1, but unfortunately, we can't stop a new person from building on the location.
No, we don't want to.
No.
No, even, you know, anytime.
Mr. Chair, no, John, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying we want it to be a good location where they can be successful. Anybody going into these locations, we want them to be successful at it. And they would not see some of the problems that I see. They would not recognize that these changes need to happen in order for them to be successful. You haven't been buying a lot of inventory to cover. Some buildings got 4 machines when it only needs 2. But what I see right now, people loading a bunch of Gatorade, a bunch of stuff, because they're trying to fill these machines. And then all the stuff it outdates because it's just too much equipment, or the equipment's too big. So, you know, they're not focusing on the target of what the customer wants, their purchase, their sale. So of course that's affecting their numbers because, they're buying a lot of inventory and a lot of it's going to the trash.
Mr. Chair, don't we have a motion on the floor?
Yeah, I don't know if we got a second yet.
Yes.
I
Oh, we
seconded
did?
it, so
Okay.
we have to discuss
We
it.
could vote, we can vote for this.
Just give me one, Mr. Chair, if I may. Keith, would you be willing to, like what I suggested earlier, we do it 90 days, and then if we get through the 3 months and Yvette says they're pretty close but not quite done yet, we can maybe extend it 90 days, even though it may not be another 90 days, it could be, whenever Yvette says, hey, this is ready to go, it can be posted. I mean, I don't know, and I don't know what the rest of the committee thinks either. I was just trying to work through
We can
this.
amend it to the 90 days. I'm okay with it, just, I foresee it's gonna be a little bit more because of hypothetically the moving of the equipment, time-wise with, Schaefer, you know what I'm saying? And their schedule.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, but if we do 90 days, Keith, we don't even need a motion. We can,
Okay, I see the difference.
Yeah.
I know that.
And trust me, Mr. Chair, I'm going to be working with Scott, so he will be well aware of, of anything. I'm just trying to make sure, it's a good facility.
All right.
It's
Dave?
a good facility, so.
What Frank said, I mean, if 90 days eliminates the motion, I was just gonna add that a temp agreement's not written in stone, that can be terminated by either side.
Mr. Chair,
John?
I just want to recommend to the committee that you just let her do her job, and then when it's time to go, then put up with it. But it takes, it's.
Withdraw the.
Withdraw the motion.
Withdraw the motion.
All right, next.
All right, what else we got?
After the OVM baseline, the agenda said temporary assignment extensions.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So the extensions, or the TBOAs expired December 31st, so there are some I think we just need to extend. I'm not including the Columbus locations because Mark and Julie have done a great job of looking at all the locations and putting together some ideas of what would fit together, and we're actually going to meet, I think, Monday still, just to talk through some of those, but some that we're looking to extend right now. I mean, obviously the 439 and 440, which is I-70 east and westbound Madison, Those are closing in June, so if we could just extend those through June, or they may already be, since we just got them signed.
Oh, okay.
Then we have Facility 511, which is DSCC Building 21, which is the smaller of the two micro markets, and vending in that building and outlying buildings at DSCC.
They just got new people January
Mhm.
2nd.
No, January 9th, I'm sorry.
So there might be a variation for the sales on that.
There's a huge variation.
So what does the committee recommend do we extend that through June?
Yeah.
Yet to be seen.
Yeah, we're gonna probably do it all in one, unless people jump in and say that one's gonna be part of it. I think we should just do it all in one, and
Okay.
unless, like I said, unless there's one that jumps out that we shouldn't extend for some reason.
Okay. Facility 541, this is I-76 Portage County. The rest areas have still not come online. They've been moving them back month by month for like a year now. This is ODOT moving them back. So right now it's just the Youngstown
It hasn't even
Post
started.
Office
Oh,
and
okay.
VA. Now, according to ODOT, those rest areas are supposed to come online this spring.
Wow.
Are we okay to extend that one?
Can you give me a timeline when that started, the tear down started?
It was supposed to open up, I think, in June originally, right? June or July?
I can't remember how long
Yeah,
it's been.
the rest areas closed quite a while ago. Mark Messick just took over last May, and all he's doing is the Youngstown Post Office and VA. He's not had the
Yeah, I can't
rest areas
remember
at
how
all.
long it's been. It's been,
Kelsey Burrier, do you remember when the rest areas shut down?
Yes, it was, I want to say June of 21, right after COVID. Ben Williamson had it after Ed retired.
Thank you.
3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
They were having water issues, so it has its own water supply. And they did it wrong, and they have to redo it. And they're having a hard time for the contractor showing up for work, so that's part of the issues.
Give us so much faith.
Who's that speaking?
I know.
Kelsey Burrier.
Burrier, consultant.
Is this a normal or worst case scenario?
Normal. Is everyone okay if we extend that one?
Yeah.
Okay. The next one is Ohio University Athens, which is actually on the agenda for later, but John McNamara actually found another driver, so he is able to continue temping that for us, as long as you're all okay with that. We didn't have people jumping in line to temp it. And so, again,
What's the
we...
number?
717. And the
Okay,
pop...
thank you.
Pop was supposed to be added this fall. Coke is still telling us they don't have machines. We've had our legal, their legal involved. But they have told us that they will start delivering machines on the 24th, so next week. Okay. The next one is Owens Community College, which Mr. Burkholder is temping for us. It's facility 725.
Toledo. Yes, it is. I don't think it's ready to be put out there. I'll go with it. We need the pop there, yeah, we need to get the pop there.
Anyone disagree to extend it? Oh, Dwayne, you're so lucky. As long as you will volunteer to keep temping for us. The next one is Facility 840, which is OSU Mansfield. John McNamara is temping that.
There's one person who I would think we could bid on it. I don't think he wants to be one.
I got a rest area shut down now.
Oh, that's true. I don't know, should we put that out? That's a fire attachment? It's not a job.
No, it's not.
I mean, I don't care either way, so if people wanna. Oh, okay, we'll just keep it as a test. Okay.
Okay. The next one is Facility 841, which Mr. Wood is temping for us. That's OSU and COTC, Newark, Pataskala. What's the other location, Mark? I can't think of it.
Coshocton.
Coshocton, oh yeah.
Mount Vernon, Cambridge.
Oh, it's all over the place.
Yeah.
It's not as nice as it sounds.
No, it's not. It's driving for days.
Yeah, that's not near as nice as it looks.
Keep it going, Mark. Are you willing to continue it for us? Thank you.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, if it's, you know, if it does go out, which, I mean, it's going fairly good, but it is stretched. To put it out in summer, I wouldn't put it out.
And Mark's rest area was closed.
Yeah, my rest area is closed too,
Exactly.
so.
Same thing, I think. Stuff I think,
Okay, so those are the facilities. The others are sites, basically. It's listed as Facility 61, which is the Lauschie Building, Bratenall, and Cuyahoga County Courthouse. And Augustin Jackson is temping that. He just took over in late August of 2023.
He's a new guy?
Anything else?
No.
He's a new guy?
Yeah.
Wow, that's all he had. And it's a, oh gee. Poor guy. I'll let him keep it. He wants it. He's not using money.
Is everyone okay with continuing that one?
Yeah.
The next one is that's part of the Columbus configuration, KSU Salem, which Mr. Danflus is running for us.
Mm-mm. That's John.
Johnny
Is it
Mack.
now? No.
I don't
My
know how
bad.
good it's doing.
You're doing KSU Start.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hey, man.
What's the number of that one?
770. 770.
Okay. Okay.
Go ahead.
Continue with that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Okay.
was Boondocks.
Facility 1002 is Akron downtown locations and OSU Worcester. John McNamara is running that.
We should probably look into those numbers and reevaluate that.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Kelsey?
that's the one where we had a motion, we were holding those until we can get legal and Stark State Campus,
Yes, that's
along with KSU Stark as well was gonna be part of that and look at it all and see if we can make a job.
Oh, okay.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, keep it then for local one.
Thank you, Kelsey.
Anytime.
It was combining with KSU Stark and what was the other? Oh, Stark State. Okay.
Yeah, because there's some, also with that, we're getting another part of OSU Worcester campus. We're waiting for legal on that too. So there might be more possibilities there as well, but yes.
Okay. The next site is 1005, the Greene County ODOT Garage, which Mr. Trammell is temping for us. It's a real moneymaker.
I was gonna say, if anyone even wants to do that, let them keep it.
Thanks a lot.
Or Keith, if you
Put it
want,
out
we can
for
put
bid.
it out for bid and you could bid on it if you want it.
Yeah,
It'd be one less MOR.
I was gonna
It
say.
ain't no real, it's one number.
That was my attractive offer.
Yeah. I know. Let's just keep.
Might create a variance.
Keep temping.
Could create a variance. Too soon?
Yes, too soon. Okay, in case she's dark. And the last one is 1018, which is US 33 East and West in Logan, which Annette just took over for us just in December. And that's while
Repeat that.
1018. It's US 33
118.
1018.
1018.
1018.
US 33 eastbound, westbound. And Annette is doing that while the Madison County rest areas will be closed as part of that facility.
Where is that?
Logan County.
Logan. Okay.
Are you guys okay with that one?
Yes.
Okay, that was all we had then.
All right.
Simple enough. Huh?
Mr. Chair, do you need the next item on the agenda?
DSCC,
Yeah,
go ahead.
that's
Thank you.
Woof. Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So I sent the email to the committee, and John and Mark Kasmer also received it. They are still unable to tell us what they are actually looking for in terms of a cafeteria, or they want some sort of hot food service. They want us to run it in the interim, but long term, we still don't know what they're looking for. We think they're going to put out an RFP at some point, but they can't make a decision. They're then wanting to move the large micro market up to the third floor of that same building, which is where Laura Kolb's C-store was, and it just doesn't get the foot traffic that it's getting now. We're really concerned that that's going to hurt that micro market. There's not really a huge decision that needs made by the committee. It was more of an FYI. Sarah reached out to them this week to try to get a statement of work from them, and they told us they couldn't give us one for the short term or the long term because that would be against the permit that we're currently operating under, which is funny because they're asking us to do hot food right now, which is outside of the permit we're operating under right now. I think our next step is, they wanted an answer by this coming Monday. We don't think that's reasonable since they were supposed to give us a more definitive answer before Thanksgiving. So I think our next step is to probably have our legal reach out to theirs. Is that what you would say, Christy? Or we send them something saying, we have a committee we work with, we make these decisions together, we need more time. Less than a week is not enough time for us to look into any sort of short or long-term service.
Sally?
Yes.
They had, if I'm not mistaken, a cafeteria there prior to us
Correct.
coming in. So they recently lost a cafeteria.
Yes.
Correct. They had Urist running it, and Urist backed out. They clearly weren't making any money. I think they're going to be hard-pressed to find anyone willing to run a cafeteria.
They got, I know, but they got them new people. It's a mess. They're holding out for food, hot food.
Mm-hmm.
Can I comment?
Sure.
So,
Where is this? Where?
The SEC.
The DSCC Building 20.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
what they're wanting in the short term is for us to buy minimal hot food and they're basically telling us, you guys need to decide what you want to supply because we can't contract with anybody yet.
Yeah, they want us to bridge the gap until they see if they can find somebody else.
Mr. Chair, that's why they're kicking you out of the space that's making all that money.
Exactly.
Which I'll use you while we're looking for somebody.
Yep.
And we ought not be.
And we've already extended money to build that spot. That's what makes me mad.
And they knew all along this is the direction they would go if they get those people back in work.
Right.
And Mr. Chair, I've seen some things in that email. Well, I seen one specific thing that really bugged me. They kept putting the word capable in there. We're capable of doing anything food service wise. The question is it financially feasible?
Well, that's funny that they did the poll in November after the cafeteria couldn't make a profit, and they're asking people, if you ask me what would I like, what do you like and what's profitable are two different things.
Right. And then the other,
They really want that popcorn though. That kind of
Good
bugged
God.
me. That was weird.
and the other,
It's like a slap.
and the other problem, and I've said this to everybody, is the other thing they're not gonna like with any kind of hot food or open food, no matter who provides it these days, they're not gonna
Price.
like the price points.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Mr. Chair, there's no way anybody's gonna open the cafeteria on Mondays or Fridays, and they know that. But they-
3 days a week.
They
Yep.
think somehow they're gonna find someone's gonna run the cafeteria 2 days a week. So,
Well, that's what they're trying to leverage us into doing it.
what
And
I personally would do, if I was you guys, is for us to find a way to put a minimum amount of hot food in there on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, so that we can convince them that we can stay down there and not.
What was
Did you hear
it?
John? John just said, repeat what you said, John.
What I am suggesting, so that we can try and stay down there, is if they put it on our, in our, you put on our RFP, and we're competitive, they already know they took that right out. So what I would suggest is for us to put some hot food in there, minimum amount, so that we can try and get, the customers love the cuts. That way we can convince them that they should just leave us down there.
I don't know if this is a good example or bad one. You guys remember the City Gate cafeteria?
Yep.
Yep.
I think any amount of sales you're gonna get from them hot foods is gonna pull away from the micro market, and now you're adding on labor, and you're just gonna be spinning your wheels, in my opinion.
I don't know what the sales were. Yeah, they're only 24 hours. So it's a lot, it's very difficult.
I have a question. Have we told them that we don't want to move?
I think so.
But we need to be very upfront with that we're not going to move. We're there, that's our spot. And I do not care what
Did they-
the attorneys think that, well, they get a right to say what their place is. We should find them on it. Maybe we'll lose some doors, but in the meantime, we're there. We should at least fight for that spot. That is one of the most profitable, best locations we've opened in a long, long time. We were good enough for them when they didn't have anything else, we're good enough for them now. And we should not kowtow to them and say, okay, if you want us to move, we'll move up here, even though it harms our operator, harms our program. We're gonna stay. We're gonna keep our micro market going, and we're gonna stay. And make them try to fight us to leave.
Mr. Chair, I kind of equate it with, when we were having issues with Farmer's Fridge at UC coming in and moving our snack machines and stuff to the back of I don't like this. I don't think, I know it's federal property, and federal property is supposed to be where our priority is strongest. So I'm hopeful we can do something, some way, somehow,
Yeah.
to say, no.
They're putting us under the stairs.
Yeah, we don't want to go there.
We're in a spot, you agreed to let us go into this spot. You were on board, you were happy that we came into this spot.
They asked us to go into that
asked
spot.
us, they wanted us in this spot.
Until they
We
get
should
something
have
better.
just, because now they think we could do a little better, that no, we should refuse to go. We're gonna
Send the
stay
new,
here and
send
run our
the
micro
hot
market.
food to the third floor.
And, yeah, they can move that up there.
I love
If
it.
they get somebody to do it, more power to them, but, I don't like the fact that it would give the micro market competition, but I think the micro market has sales established, and I think it would, even if they did get somebody to do it, it would be short-lived.
Mr. Chair? Yeah, I worked there for like 5 years when I come into the program, so that cafeteria that was there, they didn't really want to be there. They were stuck under their contract because there's no money in the cafeteria in that building. I worked
And that was
for 5 years.
back when they had the numbers.
Yeah.
And Building 20 was the last to go on teleworking as well.
Right. So, I don't know yet what they think they'll get in there that's gonna make it, because the ones they had in there, I think it's Sedesco or
Sodexo,
something.
yeah. I was there.
There was two different. places
You
there.
guys are positioned to stay, we're trying to stay there, I guess?
Mhm.
Yeah.
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 So, Mr. Chair, really, I just wanted to bring this to the attention of the committee so you guys are aware of what's going on and
Mr. Chairman,
just let you know.
like I said, I'm willing to provide a little bit of hot food, but it's not
Can
my
I ask,
location.
can you guys set up a separate MOR for that location, or is it still bundled?
I just have it, I have it together. I had it together because my sales.
Is there a separate MOR for building 20 and 21?
I'm trying to answer that question.
No, there's not.
And I'm not trying to be rude, but I had it as one location because of the fact that my sales in 21 and many was not high enough. But now it is.
Can we create a separate MOR for that?
I gave you guys, I gave the Bureau separate sales, but I did not keep them separate expenses.
Mr. Chair, and as far as hot food goes, I think as long as there's an operator, whether it be John or anyone else that you can show a permit, that's up to the operator if they want to serve it. It's not under a permit, it's not, you know?
Mr. Chair, may I ask John a question? John, I would like to, and I don't know if you talked to him or not. I know we have one permanent operator at the FCC. Would the cafeteria impact him as well, or I know he's doing all vending, so I don't know to what extent. But
Well, he has vending machines in that building, and then he has a separate micro-market in a different building. So it's gonna impact him in a little way.
Yes.
Because I have the same vending, I have a lot more choices in that building than he does right now. And the micro-market's where he has me vending.
I was just curious.
So I don't think it really impacted that much.
Oh, Scott's building, Scott's location's doing better than when he got it. It's doing pretty well.
Okay. But I believe our program and this committee, we should fight to keep the micro market where it is. I hate to use the word fight, or we should advocate very strongly and very aggressively to keep that micro market where it is.
Mr. Chair, that's why I'm suggesting we provide a little bit of hot food to these.
What, Mr. Chairman, I think you should do that, John, while you're tempting it, provide it. And we're not committing to nothing, if you see it doesn't work, then you can stop.
The only thing that concerns is if Mark decides to.
Yeah, then he
exercise
should
his-
change things. That's why I'd be concerned to do any commitment of anything,
That's
whether it's you or
exactly-
Mark or anyone else is in there.
I'm personally, some people think I'm crazy for doing this, but I really want the committee to give Mark a deadline and make me a decision so that I can do what I need to do. I mean, we have two really good facilities there. Three actually.
Yeah, and also how long can you even hang in the room?
Mr. Chair.
It's a lot of moving parts. Yep.
The local committee talked about this, gosh, when was that? Earlier this week, I think. Well, we were talking about something else, and they both decided as a local committee that Mark should not be forced to make a decision until DSCC has a definitive answer of what it is they want.
Oh, Mr. Chair, I think that actually is gonna happen at some point, because they're gonna probably put out an RFP, then we're gonna have to decide if we're gonna bid on it. And if nobody bids, which I'm suspicious that would probably happen, I think there's too much change there. But it's gonna be a while, I know, John. It's-
No, that's, my point is, I think we can circumvent a lot of the problems by supplying a little bit of what they want, even if we use food, which I hate to do, but something like that. Because then we're going, the problem that I'm seeing is, it's not the people calling us that are the problem, it's the people they're asking any guidance as to what they want them to do. But I don't feel very comfortable providing that because I don't know when it's gonna stop and I have to hire people and stuff to do that.
Well, that's
Needs to be decided.
That's why I'm asking you guys to force the community.
Yeah.
Mm,
And yes, you guys force them to potentially cut my income, but then I can also provide better service. Building
So it's basically a big gamble for either person. Mark might not know what he's getting into, and you really don't know what you're getting into going on.
But I won't get into it.
Right, that's the thing, as I said, but Mark should have to make a decision if he wants to do it.
Yeah, and you're the next guy on the list.
That, you know, and there's a lot of conflict of interest and I get that too.
He's in there want to provide it now, but he don't want to. Because the market decided to come in, and somebody's going to make a decision, so.
Is that everything?
Yes.
All right. What do we got? Oh, I'm lost.
Equipment modernization.
Equipment modernization.
What's on your machine?
I need machines.
Me too.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
So with this, machines are like nationwide taking forever to get in. So the stuff that we ordered in October still is not in. There was machines ordered last summer for some facilities and those have finally come in. So you're looking at like more than 6 month turnaround for machines. So with that, we were granted by our fiscal department that we are able to extend our spending past the biennium. So it's gonna be like a 36-month process instead of 24-month, which is great news because there's no way that we would be able to spend the full amount in the 2-year time because it's taking so long for machines to come in. So with that, we're kind of gonna need to like re-strategize like kind of how we're ordering because we can't overwhelm the warehouse either. So just kind of giving you guys a heads up, and I'm probably gonna need some input. I know that Dave had asked for that work group we put back together. So some input on decisions with ordering, like how we go about that. Because it's not gonna really make sense to order for any of the rest areas that are closing down, even if they're closing down in 2025, because it's taking so long. So kind of like putting them on hold until they reopen and get them brand new machines, and kind of just wanting to prioritize the stuff that's needed sooner than later.
How far back are you guys going on glass rents, for instance? If they get replaced, how old do they need to be before they get replaced?
I'd have to look at the list. I think it was kind of a combination of the age of the machine along with the availability of parts. Because APs having trouble getting parts, Dixie Narcos, Nationals, a lot of the Caforias.
Is AP still in existence?
Huh?
AP? They're no longer.
And then like there's some newer Royal machines out there, but that company went out of business, so they are no longer making parts. So it's kind of a combination of multiple things. Each of your consultants should have reached out to you. I don't even know when we started this.
Last summer, I think.
Yeah, sometime a while ago. about like the machines and your facility, what you would need replaced, and we got that feedback. And then for that first quarter, each of the consultants worked with the first facilities that were ordered for on what exactly they wanted in those facilities. And it was based on the like we had talked about, and I think this is gonna be a point of discussion, going down to like streamlining what we were ordering as far as manufacturers, with Snack and Pops. So we were ordering based on that. So I think there's a lot of different factors that go into this.
Are all the machines that'll be replaced going to be salvaged, or will they be able to be repurposed and used in other locations?
Some of them, the consultants kind of are looking at the history on service calls, the machine itself. So some of them are going to be repurposed where we can. Others are going to have to be salvaged.
So, Mr. Chair, we're putting this out 36 months, so that would take us to 26, June of 26.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's state federal, or state fiscal year.
Mhm.
So through June of 26. There are several rest areas that were not due to even reopen to them, and we know how ODOT is, they don't open until later. Will we be able to replace the equipment then at the end of this? I guess that would have been an issue whether it was 24 or 36 months.
Mr. Chair,
Mhm.
the idea is to kind of like put those as last. So those would be the last machines that we order, and
then
hopefully
just-
get the money spent by that June.
Okay, and they would sit and wait until the rest area is open.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do you need us, we probably should have a work group, because this is,
Mr. Chair.
There is a work group.
there is a work group, okay.
That, I think that was the question, like what does the work group want input on? We're working with each individual operator on their facility. I think it may come down to, because the rest of this year, we're gonna have a dollar amount we need to stick to for this fiscal year. So like what machines fall under that amount, and if it's over that amount, how do we prioritize? So we definitely want the committee's input on that. I'm not for sure what else the work group would like to talk about on a regular basis. Maybe it's a one-time meeting. I
It
don't
seems
know.
like a lot of money, but is it all accounted for? Is it all spent?
Mr. Chair, yes. There's a little bit of wiggle room. There's probably like $250,000 just based on cost of machines increasing, because like we went from one year to the next, and there was an 18% jump with cost of machines. Machines are like at an all-time high right now. Just kind of supply and demand. The demand is way bigger than the supply, so they're kind of cranking up the prices. So that's just kind of allow for that.
Mr. Chair,
David?
one of the reasons I wanted to do a work group is because this whole only purchasing 2 brands of machines has already been implemented. And according to the Bureau, they've already turned down operators from their equipment choices already because it's not the 2 brands they want to buy. And every operator is different. We all like different brands of equipment because they're more familiar with it, they're more accessible to us for whatever reason, things like that. There was no active participation for a policy like that that's already been implemented. And that's highly inappropriate. And that needs to be talked about. It needs to be halted until that can be worked out. And operators that will refuse their equipment choices need to be reconsidered, and you know, their choices should at least be considered.
I don't know that we ever got a chance to talk about what types of equipment,
We did it,
that we were supposed to be looking at.
and that was,
That's, I mean, each individual operator did to some extent, but I don't ever remember any decision coming before the committee on.
No,
um,
I was
brands of
supposed to be
equipment and all
head of
that.
that group and I lost track. I'm sorry.
Mr. Chair, but that's right, there wasn't, it was never talked about, and it's already been implemented without any active participation from the committee or anyone else. They came to statewide last year and already had plans for how every bit of that money was going to be spent and what they were going to buy with it, things like that. The work group kind of just got lost in the changeovers of chair and things like that, so, I mean, that's understandable. But just to refuse operators their equipment choices for a policy they implemented with no active participation is highly inappropriate, and it should not continue until that gets worked out.
Mr. Chair.
Amy?
It was a discussion, there was no motion or anything made, but there was discussion, I looked it up in minutes of a past meeting where we had talked about the reason why we were trying to streamline it to USI and AMS snack machines and then Crane and Vindo drink machines. Because there was a lot of, and still is, a lot of discussion about Schaefer not being able to have parts on hand when needed because of the variety of machines, the training that was done on the machines, because everyone has so many different things. If you guys wanna open the door and just say whatever goes, that's fine, but those big picture issues are going to keep coming up in the future. So it's just kind of, we are trying to solve a problem, but if that doesn't seem to be a concern, then like, it's not, we can just go along with whatever that operator wants. The whole point of it was if someone is in a facility and leaves a facility, there would be similar machines. Everyone would have adequate training on the machines that are in the program rather than like, oh, this is a machine I've never seen before. And then having to go through that and like relearning a machine.
And Mr. Chair, I don't think any accessibility to different operators was taken into consideration with that choice. They have perfect vision. They're not even considering that everybody else has different levels of vision or no vision at all, and we all have different equipment that we are familiar with and can work with. And the equipment that I requested has a very large screen, it has bold font, a dark mode, it has accessibility options with it, and I've never been happier with machines than I am those. I have 2 of them now, and they work great. I get compliments from customers on them, and they told me Amy's exact words were they've already refused other operators. It wouldn't be fair to buy me the machines I want when they've already turned others down. That's just completely inappropriate.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
I also want to comment that it's not just, when I say we've turned people down, it's not just snack machine to snack machine. There are requests for other items, like, I don't like this coffee machine, I want this coffee machine, and that other coffee machine is substantially more cost than what we're purchasing. There's just, it's not just about snack to snack, and that's why it was, let's just try to streamline things for parts, training, and other reasons. But I think there's like a precedent you've set in saying like, whatever that operator wants for their facility. I mean, we are under budgetary things like that we can only spend a certain amount, we only have spending authority for a certain amount. And with us having, yes, we did try to incorporate and replace as many machines as possible, and that's like the goal with this money. So when you say that we accounted for every penny, this money was given to us for a specific reason. So it's not like they said, here's $6 million, do whatever with it. It was, here's $6 million to replace vending machines in the business enterprise program.
But Mr. Chair, the Bureau is supposed to actively participate with us on major decisions like that. And I'm not suggesting a free-for-all, that anybody can just request some ridiculously overpriced machine. I'm talking about reasonable requests for equipment choices and snack machines that are accessible to that operator. There is no reason not to try to accommodate that. As far as overly expensive coffee machines, I mean, coffee machines have been in decline for ages. I can't imagine anybody would really have an accessibility reason why they need a specific type of coffee machine. But accessibility on a snack machine, for example, that's big on the important list. And as far as Bendo being one of the beverage machines, I've had experience with Bendos and they are awful. They didn't work with the candle breeders that I had years ago. They were terrible. And it was a branded machine. And Bendo blamed the card reader. The card reader blamed Bendo. It was a no-win scenario.
My windows work okay with card readers.
Well, Mr. Chair, is that work group's established and up and, working
Yep.
on getting up and running and?
Mr. Chair, I requested that we have a bureau person to work with us, and I also requested that we have a consultant work with us, and Christie never responded to that portion of the email. And I sent a follow-up email and never got a response from that either, so that's like the roadblock right now.
Mr. Chair, Christie's busy, but Tanya being on the work group's fine. And I might actually put another consultant on there. Amy's really busy right now, so it might be a couple consultants and Dave. And who's the other person, Dave? Tom and who else?
Tom Neal and Mark Bain.
Okay. So it might be a couple consultants and,
Amy did just say we could reasonably accept what people were asking for. I did hear her say that.
yeah, and I think that there's a couple things. Yeah, it's not worth the fight. The other piece is that I think priority. That's because I think things have changed now with the supply issue. And I was on a phone call with other BEP directors throughout the state, and Texas or New York was like everyone's having these supply issues, big time. The other thing is that we have to look at too is that, people requesting recyclers on every one of their machines. And if we do that, and if it's the committee's recommendation, that's just going to reduce the amount of machines that we can replace. I think that stuff like that, I think we have to come up with a reasonableness standard that, if you have 10 machines, maybe 2 have recyclers. But that's up for the committee to bring to the recommendation. And again, we will have a couple consultants on the committee with you guys, and you guys can bring it to the full committee, and we'll give a dollar amount of what we have to work with, and you guys can figure that out.
Yeah, and Mr. Chair, the parts idea, Shaver doesn't stock, they may stock some bill acceptors and coin packs, but those are all MDB and they're universal to almost every machine. So I don't really think it affects parts. It's not like they stock motherboards or glass or anything like that. They have to order all that.
Yeah, I got a question. Do you guys think we can get through the next couple agenda items quickly, or should we go to lunch?
What are they?
One was OU Athens. I think that's gone.
Yeah.
That's easy.
Yep.
And the other one was,
Mr. Chair, just for clarification though, are we going to stop the only 2 machines thing for right now? Is that where we're at?
I think, like she said, it was there with the people who were having issues with not getting what they want. They could revisit that, and you can.
Okay, good. Okay. Just for clarification though, nobody may not want to know. I don't know, but so I have 3 machines that were slated to be replaced under modernization, and along with all the other ones. But those 3 specific machines do not provide any telemetry for the card readers, and the boards are too old to replace. So the machines are not repairable in that way. So I asked for 3 new machines to replace those specifically. And then the rest of my replacements could wait, for as long as it takes to get, I don't even mind going to the end of the line after that. I was only concerned about those 3 that don't provide any telemetry for me, and it makes it harder to run my route because I get no information. They can still make sales, but they provide no information to me about when they need to be billed or anything like that. So those 3 were the only things I was after, and I could be extremely patient after that. And this was probably back in November sometime, I believe. So, I've lost 3 months of, I could been waiting in line for these new machines because of a policy issue that never been in place to begin with. It's just a little, just a little clarification about what happened.
Okay, we haven't replaced any machines yet, have we?
Mr. Chair, what other thing?
Oh, work group discussions and Sandusky.
Yeah.
Modern work group discussion, I think, is that the Sandusky, yeah, it's the veteran home.
Yeah, I think we can get through it.
All right, sorry, Keith. We're gonna knock it out. So are we good with the, work group for modernization?
Yeah, so Christie will get back and let me know who else is going to be on the work group, I guess?
Yes,
Okay.
I can do that Monday.
Okay.
Any other work group discussions, or is this a whole new agenda?
Mr. Chair, it's Christie. So training, and I need help on who's on the training work group. Yvette said she's on it. Annette's on it. And John. Okay. So we've had one successful person go through the new modules. I'm struggling to try to find, and I'm working with Kelsey, to try to find someone to do the final in-stands. But I think he's going to be really good. He's up in Boardman. Got another person through that's in the mix of that. Since then, we did license a guy in Columbus. So I'm really excited about that. And Scott Allen did a great job with his in-stands. Statewide, who's on that group? Mark, are you on that group?
Yep.
So that group needs to meet, and I'm going to be calling you. Who else was on that? Was it Johnny Mack?
I think I should put Lynn on there too. Is Lynn on there?
Lynn?
Yeah, Lynn's on there.
Okay. So I'll be calling you guys next week. We're kind of behind the 8 ball on that one. The hotel RFP is going out next week. And again, the way this works is it has to go through this Ohio buys process. We put in all the requirements, and whoever gets it, gets it. Like, if we don't like it, we have to live with it. But Fiscal's more worried that no one's going to put in for it. So that might be another issue. So, but I will keep you guys abreast. But we need to, I'll set up meetings starting next week, and we're going to probably have to meet like every other week to get an agenda together. And we'll do it. We can do it. And what we did with the RFP, just to remind everyone, is that there were 3 dates that were proposed last year, and I put all 3 dates, like first choice, second choice, third choice. And you're going to ask me what those dates are. And I don't have them off. I know that the third choice was the May 3rd and 4th. The first choice, they're in April, nowhere near Easter. So that's where we're at with that.
Christie, do you have a time frame on that? And I only ask because I have another event or another group I was putting together for one of those weekends possibly, but it's not gone anywhere yet. But do we know when we're going to find out?
Sure. So they put it out next week. It's going to be out for 10 days.
Okay.
So we should definitely know mid-February.
Okay.
And if you know that other date, or you want us to stay away from what you know, I can make the priority of those other 2 dates, whatever.
It's not in stone yet.
Okay.
But that April 13th,
Okay.
group I'm with is going to put together an event for that weekend. And I told that date, and I said, well, you should hold off. Because I
Okay.
want to make sure it's not the same as statewide.
Yep. And I don't know what other work groups, we have to, that inventory, that work group hasn't met, and Annette, help me out, was that gonna be just conversation in here at this
Yes,
point?
it was
Okay.
supposed to be with the full committee.
Okay, so that needs to be on the agenda next month, that we have to start circling around there, because, I know that there's been questions recently that, hey, what happens when we establish a brand-new facility? Well, we don't have that set up yet, so we're still doing agreements like we have. So we can't do two different systems, so we really need to go forward on that. And I know that other states are also working on this, and I'm working with other states to try to figure out, again, what is the easiest way to do this. And I know there's a lot of conversation. We shouldn't get into it today because we'll be here until tomorrow, but I think I request that this is on the agenda for next time, and we dedicate some time to it.
Mr. Chair, I am unsure of who's on the budget work group now. I send the budget reports. I do want to give a shout out to you guys though, because the past 3 months service charge is averaging over $74,000. Same time period last year it was 50, like averaging 56. So you guys are awesome. But if anyone is on the budget work group or would like to be on the budget work group, just shoot me an email.
Because it hasn't met, and when was the last time it met?
I think over the summer maybe.
I'll step up for that. And anybody else want to come along?
Come along.
I will, if I can be helpful, I will.
Dave. All right.
And John.
And John, Jack.
Well, you probably, I don't know if you want, if you can get him to maybe Jeff too.
I'll reach out.
Jeff is our,
He's our expert.
our expert, so, yeah. If Jeff's willing to do it,
He was before.
yeah, he usually is.
I'll reach out. Or I'll try to reach out. I don't know.
You gonna run it, Larry?
I,
Or you gonna?
I'd rather somebody else. I could just show up and.
Well, I mean,
I'm not allowed.
what'd you say, John?
I'm not allowed.
Yeah, you can.
All right.
They're work groups now, not subcommittees.
I was already running it.
Yeah.
And then I was told that after I lost my alternate that I could run it.
Well, you're back now. Cheer up.
If you want me to run it, I'll keep running it. I'll do it. It's up to you guys.
If you want to take ahead and steer it, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, are we limited on the number of people on that work group?
I don't want it to get too out of control. So,
Well,
yeah, I would.
I would certainly give up my spot for Jeff, you know.
Yeah, I think we can still reach out.
So it doesn't matter.
Yeah, we can still reach out to Jeff.
I'll do that. That's fine.
Any more work groups?
I don't think so. Are we down to Sandusky Group Home?
I think so.
Sally Nunes?
Mr. Chair, the Sandusky Veterans Home has reached out to us yet again.
Again, it's been a long time.
Yes. They left a message with Kim saying that their vending company advised them to reach out to us, which tells me the vending was not doing well.
Find another sucker.
I have Lynn Hustwick reaching out to them to find out if they're still doing commissary there or what the deal is. We were hoping to have more information today, but unfortunately we do not at this point.
That's a live-in facility, and they provide food and meals for them?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, that'd be tough.
Oh, Mr. Chair, I thought they were asking for their normal waiver.
No, they're asking for us, I did too.
Wow.
And there's nothing close to Sandusky?
No, we don't.
It would be a side attachment.
Probably.
One that no one wants.
Mr. Chair, I would suggest that we look at this as like any other, if
Evaluate.
they're looking, evaluate, do the assessment and
Yeah.
see, see what once we get more information, our local folks,
Yep.
Me and Lynn and Dwayne and
Yep.
Sally will figure it out.
Sounds like a plan.
Sounds like a good plan.
Now we're
Good
checking.
people just calling us out by name now. That's great.
Now we're at anything else.
Anything else?
Who made that last suggestion about reaching out to them?
Was that Annette?
Yeah,
Who was-
it was me.
Was that it?
Annette.
Okay, thank you, Liz. Okay.
Any-
Mr. Chair?
Dave?
Are there anything else? I'm not trying to beat a dead horse here, but when it
That
came
usually
to
don't sound good.
the only purchasing two types of machines, I wrote an email objecting to that policy with no active participation, and not a single person on the committee said a word about it. And Christie never responded to it at all. And the only person who said a word was Derek, and that was only as much as to say that he agreed it needed to be talked about. Now, we already resolved it today, apparently, but the committee needs to enforce active participation. And that did not happen there.
Mr. Chair, Derek spoke it all. He said, well, we agreed and we'll talk about it, and we did. I don't know what other email there should have been.
Yeah, you're right, David. I apologize. I was assigned to that work group, and
No, that's.
but no, I mean, stuff happens, and we're all working together trying to get things right.
That's not what I was saying. I'm saying they didn't respond at all to anything I said.
Miss-
And that policy was put in place. Again, we already resolved it, so I'm not trying to beat it to death horse, but.
Well,
we
that's
have to
pretty much
insist
what
on
we're
active
doing, but
participation.
if you say so.
Mr. Chair, can I just clarify one thing? Active participation by law is in this room. It's not an email, it's not a conversation, it's not even a work group. It's the work groups take recommendations to this committee. And I just want to be clear that everyone is aware, active participation can only happen in this room, in this setting.
Mhm.
And I just don't want people to get confused and
yeah.
conflated about what active participation is and is not.
I want to make a statement that I'm not going to respond to every email in a timely fashion or at all in some cases.
Well-
So don't come at me with emails
This
specifically.
committee, the Bureau asked this committee last year to require committee members to respond to emails within, what was it, three business days or something like that?
Well, yeah, I mean, if they're asking you to do something and directly, yeah, we have timelines on stuff that they have to do. That makes sense, but for everybody to
That's
reach out and say,
active participation, right?
No.
Wait,
That,
what?
that is most of the time that's for the, local committees to answer a question on, what was this assessment? What did you think of that? Do you want this temp to go in here? Those type of questions is what they were referring to. They don't send out emails looking for active participation from OVRC.
If they implement a policy that we did not participate in coming up with, that is a lack of active participation.
Correct. But it had nothing to do with the email.
Mr. Chair,
"Hmm,
I also would like to clarify that the machine issue got brought up in another work group call. And Chrissy and I suggested that we take it to the full committee to talk about, and we even suggested to put it on the agenda. It wasn't on the agenda, so we were trying to actively participate, and we're gonna do a work group and everything. We were all for talking about it. There was no official policy. We thought that it was talked about in a previous meeting. We hadn't heard from an operator, so we're talking about it, and we will make changes as we need along the way.
hey, thanks, that's all we can ask." Anything else? All
I
right.
move to adjourn.
Thank you. Somebody second?
Larry, I got
Larry, this is Mott.
Yes, sir.
How do you want me to handle the draft of the minutes? Who does it go to?
Oh, man. Yeah, I don't know. I guess Christopher, I don't know what the timeline might be for him, and I hate to
Larry.
put that on him.
Larry, have him send it to you and I,
Okay, you want, okay.
and I'll try to go with that.
Send it back to me and Frank. I don't know if you heard him.
I'll copy both of you.
Thank you,
It's
sir.
okay. I just needed to know what to do with them.
I appreciate it. Thanks for your help, Tom.
You're welcome. Hey, Larry.
Yes, sir.
Hey, use MOT. Only my mother calls me my Tom, and she's dead.
Damn. Got you. All right.
Hang on, second the agenda.
Hey, did somebody second this?
Oh,
Yeah, I did.
Frank
All right.
did, we're done.
Frank seconded. All right. Thanks, you guys.